Well. Hello, everyone. Quick test. Let me see if the audio level is fine. It's probably too loud, yeah? Hold on. Okay, something like this maybe. Hopefully this is the right mix. This is my first stream. Every time I start up a stream after the weekend, everything breaks. We got Charlie Paris saying hello. Audio seems fine to me. Thank you very much. Thank you for telling me. I do have some technical difficulties right now, so I can monitor. Right now, I'm streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. And over on the Twitch side, for some reason, my browser will not open up Twitch. But on my mobile, it's fine. And OBS is able to speak to it. So if you're watching me on Twitch, thank you very much. So I will be monitoring anything on the Twitch side from my phone in front of me. And also in OBS, somehow I broke the chat module, so I can't see the chat from my desktop. So anyways, not that anyone's asking. Hello everyone, happy Monday. I was supposed to stream yesterday, but then a couple of my friends invited me to go drink at a beer garden. And so I couldn't say no to that because I really wanted to get this one German dish that I got when I was in Munich a few months ago called the Käsesplitter or something like that. So delicious. So anyways, I didn't stream yesterday. I apologize, but I am here today and we're going to have a fun photo editing stream. Thank you very much, Charlie Paris, for tuning in over on the YouTube side. Anyone that's new, if you are curious, what exactly do I do when I stream and who am I? I am Yobel. I go by YobelPrize across all social media. I started in travel photography, shifted towards wildlife photography. Eventually, after COVID and with the, once TikTok and things were blowing up, I decided to dabble in short form video content. I enjoyed it. I was making some cool videos. And from there, I decided to expand my knowledge base and skill set towards video. So I started a YouTube channel not too long ago, just about a year and a half or so ago, since I've been treating it seriously. I now have been focusing my time being more of a quote-unquote cinematographer. So I spend my time trying to capture the wild, capture my travels, and then see if there's ways that I can share it with the rest of the world, which leads to my motto. I always say that I aim to share the best of the world with the rest of the world through my lens. Wow, what an intro. Oh wait, no, that's not the full intro. And then after I started the YouTube, I decided to document all my travels. I've been traveling nonstop for the past 2 years or so since I've left corporate, and using this time to hopefully share it with you guys. I'm well behind. I've got over 100 terabytes of footage still remaining for me to review and turn into content. I decided to become a live streamer, or at least learn how to live stream about a year ago. And so if I'm at home when I'm not traveling and I'm, editing photos or videos, I figured I'll turn on the camera and go live and show you guys how the sausage is made. So that's kind of the point of these live streams. You get to see how I edit my photos, how I'm learning how to edit my videos, how I put a story together, getting your guys' feedback throughout the journey. And then if my cats decide to join me during the stream, that's an extra bonus. Right now, my cats are both off doing whatever. I just fed them. Hopefully they'll hop in later. All right, now that should be the proper intro. Charlie says, it's been a long time since I've joined a live. Yes, well, thank you very much. Not that you owe me your time or your presence or anything. So I appreciate anytime someone decides to hop in for however long. I hope I can do my best to entertain or inform if I can. All right. So anyways, that is who I am, what I do. What is on the docket for today? For today's agenda, I'm working through the photos from that last trip that I was on. So back in March and April, I was gone for 2 months and I was staying in Munich. And then from Munich, I was traveling twice to Uganda and then once to Tanzania for some travel projects. I had a project with CNN, which was super cool. Still TBD when I can maybe put together a behind the scenes of the experience, because I filmed I was documenting a lot of it. So I did this project with the CNN Create team in conjunction with the Uganda Tourism Board. So I just went there as a secondary camera operator, but it was a wonderful experience, first time being on such a project. So from Munich, I traveled to Uganda for that first project. Then I went back to Uganda about a week after that for my own photo tour. So something that I like to do is I organize my own photo tours. I don't have many on my calendar because I've been stretched a bit thin, but Uganda is one of those places I always welcome people. I've got a set itinerary, and I've had people reach out to do like private tours. So anyways, I took a couple of photographers with me for 9 days across Uganda to experience some of the wild, right? The shoebill storks and the chimpanzees and the gorillas. So yeah, I had that trip. And from Uganda, then I flew to Tanzania, where I spent about 10 days or so with a company called Asilia Africa, where I was there as the instructor for photography. And my job was to teach about 20 wildlife safari guides that work for Asilia. During their training workshop, it was like a more comprehensive training, but for 10 days, I had them to teach wildlife photography. So, you know, there's all the best cameras, and we were going out into these Jeeps every day, and we were just shooting whatever we could, and I was there to instruct, hopefully teach them how to shoot, how to find those moments, and basically be in the shoes of a photographer, so that the purpose was that when they come out of this training, they have the eye of photography in mind. So when they have these clients who come wanting to photograph lions or whatever, leopards, or whatever reason they're there, the guides will be able to better help and provide the best experience for those photographers. So yeah, anyways, those were 3 big projects that I was a part of. Okie dokie says hello there. Hello, back at you. Thanks for saying hi over on Twitch side. If I miss your message, I apologize. Right now I'm monitoring the Twitch chat from my phone here because doesn't matter. Anyways, so yeah, I was on 3 projects across March and April. So it took me across 3 countries. It was a wonderful time. So I am now behind the scenes. I'm working with my editor. I've been working with this editor for the past few months now. He's been excellent, helping me with some of my YouTube videos. And so he's helping me put together some parts of my upcoming travel vlog series. So it'll be basically the entire 2 months of my travels turned into episodic, wait, that doesn't make sense. Turned into episodes as part of a series. So we're at the finishing touches of the first episode. I'm excited to share it with you guys very soon. But it's going to be focused on Uganda in the first series. So I am trying to edit all of my Uganda photos as soon as I can, because that'll be first on the docket in terms of what we focus on. So this is what we'll be doing. This is the last photo that we edited. Oh, I got to fix my OBS thing. Hold on. And then Okidoki asked, I have a camera question if you don't mind. I do not mind. Ask any questions you'd like. Yeah, that's a part of the stream. It's almost like an AMA, you know? So treat it as one of those ask me anythings. I'm here to provide as much knowledge as humanly possible, if it makes sense. Okay, I fixed my screen. I think everything else looks fine. Boom. Yeah, feel free to ask. All right, in the meantime, I think everything is working fine. Ooh, let me make sure I'm not doubling the audio. Good. Cool. So, besides this, what do we do? So as I'm editing my photos, I like to also, sometimes I like it just to talk to you guys. So I'll kind of talk through every step of my thought process, how I'm editing this photo, how to make it look better, my, creative junctures or kind of choices that I want to make. And I hope that does add value. At the same time, I also have been enjoying watching YouTube videos in tandem with my editing sessions. So I like to try to multitask. That's generally, I'm blaming on my ADHD brain. So I like to try to watch an assortment of YouTube videos while I edit, and hopefully, ideally, it's all related to the art of cinematography, filmmaking techniques, photo editing techniques, all of those kinds of things, just, artistic stuff. So hopefully it all falls in line with the theme of these streams, which is, it's just a chill session. Hopefully you enjoy chatting with me or hearing from me, but also we get to see how to be better at being a creator, artist, whatever you say. Okidoki asked, have you heard of the brand Ryko? I was looking at them and I like the image straight out of the camera. I do have a camera, but it's not portable. Interesting. Well, let's check this. Let's just see more about this. Ryko. Let's pop this up big screen. If you hear any yowling sounds, my cats are running around behind me. So, Ryko. This is a photography thing? Hold on, maybe Ryko camera. Products. Hey, maybe we'll just watch a YouTube video on this. Let's see. I've never heard of this company. I don't know if it's a brand, like a camera brand, or if it's like a, let's see. Oh, you said it's a brand. So it's a camera brand. Hold on. Can you tell me about the Ryko camera? The Ryko GR series are premium, pocketable, compact cameras renowned among street and travel photographers for their stealth, lightning-fast snap focus system, and exceptional APS-C sensor image quality. Okay. You're looking at the GR line, and you said you do have a camera, but it's not portable. So you like straight out of the camera, so you don't have to do any editing or post work. All right, well, listen, let's look this up. The Ryko GR series. And maybe I'll just watch a YouTube video on this as well. Man, well, thanks for your question, because I'm learning new things. It's a legendary lineup. Wow, that's a powerful word from AI here. All right, Ryko GR series. Is it a Japanese brand, it looks like, or it's taking me to the... GR marks its 30th anniversary in 2026. The GR series will mark the 30th anniversary since the launch of the film compact camera, GR1. Oh, is this the GR26? To commemorate this milestone, we introduced the message, "Forever a snap shooter." Interesting. Expressing GR's vision of continuing to evolve and deepen its identity in pursuit of the ultimate snap shooter. And it's got an anniversary logo on it. Well, it sounds like it's a good year to buy. You know, without knowing anything else, okie dokie, I would say it sounds like this is the year to buy it. Or at least you get like a limited edition feel to it. I'm assuming the 30th iteration is going to be better than the 29th or the 31st. I don't know. Ooh, it looks clean. Well, okay, to be fair, it looks a little dirty here. But I'm assuming it's going with that kind of grungy feel, like yeah. It's got a textured look to it. To capture movement, moments that move the heart. Yeah. Okay. It does. I like the minimalist element to this. It looks fairly straightforward. It's not complicated. You just have a photo mode. What is this? Like the aperture wheel, it looks like 2.8, 5.6, all the way to 22. So that's great. And then over on the left, I don't know what this 1 and 2 is. Maybe it's like different mode. Oh no, it might be the exposure, because I see a +1, -1, -2. So maybe it's like an exposure compensation mode here. Then you've got the timer and different modes. Okay. What the heck? How come? Is this two separate cameras? Or is this what? I'm so confused. Why do we have two different tops? Is this like the bottom of the camera too somehow? No, that wouldn't make sense, right? Because how do you set it down? What? Wait, I'm so confused. How do you... Huh? Maybe there's just two models. Okie dokie says it's a Japanese brand. That's a concept version. Huh. Wait, it hasn't come out yet. Wait, sorry, if I'm being very dense... well, firstly, that's how I am always, so you just gotta live with that. But yeah, I genuinely have no idea. I've never heard of this brand before, so this is all new to me. The GR concept. So you're saying, okay, this is not the... They haven't come up with the camera yet. It's still in concept mode. Let me reread this. In October 2026. Oh, okay. So I thought this was saying the launch of the product right away, or on October 26th, they're releasing the camera. But maybe they're just saying, hey, October 26th is the, okay, it's the 30th anniversary, and they're working on a concept product. Man, I could be completely wrong. But okay, high image quality, portability, quick response, evolving. Got it. So what does the top here say? So you got 3 user profiles. You got the priority mode. Oh, no, what is the P mode? You've got manual. Usually you got manual, shutter priority, aperture priority. What is a P mode? I have no idea. AVTV SN? Damn. Yeah, I guess I don't know. Concept movie. Ooh, okay, let's check this out. I do like me some movies here. Concept is on the top. Bottom is the bottom one. They are on the... wait, you're saying concept? Okay, so this one is the current version, and this one is the old school version? Or okay, you know what? It's on me for not... Okay, let's just see here. Let's watch the freaking video. All right, let's pause the music. Let's look at this concept movie. Full screen this bad boy.
No matter how good the camera is, sooner or later, it will come to an end.
Hold on. Let's say hello to my cat first, or at least part of my cat. So this is Nala. Nala's being a good girl, just hanging out, finally releasing all that pent-up energy. So we'll see if she comes and chills with us later. There you go, good girl.
However, the pictures taken with it will continue to live forever in our hearts. The values we provide with our camera are universalized by the photographs and are carried on to the next generation. Even at this moment, photographs that will move the hearts of our children, grandchildren, and loved ones decades later are being captured somewhere on the planet. That is our pride as a camera manufacturer and what motivates us to work for tomorrow. From film to digital,
GR has a history of nearly 30 years.
The concept, the ultimate snap shooter, has not changed throughout the time.
You know, 30 years actually isn't that long, if you think about it. Because like I'm used to hearing companies when they're talking about the grand history of their product or whatever, you're just like, oh, it's been 150 years or something like that. So actually 30, yeah. 30 is not that old. I'm not saying that as a positive or negative. I just, in my mind, I was thinking like this is like an ancient company. It really is. Yo, Daytor, Guten Abend says, hello, Yobel, hello, chat. I'm lurking at the moment. No worries. Hope you're well. I was just saying earlier, I went to a beer garden the other day and got the Kesha Spätzle. So delicious, man. That might be my top 10 favorite food now. And Okie Dokie had mentioned that I think the GR concept is their upcoming one for October. I've been looking at two models, GR Mark III X with the 40 millimeter, which I guess a 40 on an APS-C, what is that? Is that like, I don't know what the equivalent of that is in a full frame equivalent. I've been looking at two, so the GR3X or the GR4 with the 28 millimeter. I've been trying to choose one. Ooh, okay, let's figure this out. And this is, I'm assuming, is this only photography? Is this like a video camera or is it a photo camera? I don't know. Let's see.
It is neither multifunctional nor versatile. The reason why we have been able to believe in such a distinctive concept is because we trust the intelligence of our users.
I really like this concept, by the way. I wonder if maybe in the future I'll be able to get to this type of shooting style of just having something, like I say simple, but like a fixed lens, simple functionality, just limitations, right? Like they said, instead of making it versatile, just make it super hyper-focused. There's something peaceful to that, I think. I made a YouTube video recently where I was doing a street photo video challenge in Munich. And a comment that I made in there was that shooting with the zoom lens, it does all of a sudden restrict your creativity at times because you're overwhelmed with options. Whereas when you're shooting with the fixed lens, fixed aperture, you name it, it kind of it helps your mind focus on what to look for. You know, it removes all the unnecessary things that you know are outside of what the camera is capable of, if that makes sense. And then so it lets you laser focus on the moments that matter. Whereas when you're shooting with that zoom lens with too many options, you don't know where to focus on unless you become more and more experienced. So
high image quality. A camera with outstanding lens performance, natural and classic image making to capture the reality. Portability. A compact and easy to use camera that can always be carried around and taken out instantly. Quick response. Good feedback that responds to the intention of the photographer with high-speed mechanism and excellent interface. Evolving. A camera that evolves to be a part of the photographer's body through customization and firmware updates. The GR is often compared to a knife. It's not a Swiss Army knife, but a single-purpose knife. Some also say it's like a pen that fits your hand, or a musical instrument that's fun to play.
I gotta say, something about the soundtrack is very odd to me. I can't make sense of their choice of soundtrack here. It's very ominous sounding. Here comes Nala over to the other bed. Wow, look at this queen. Look at this pretty girl. What are you doing? What a good girl. And then Kimbap is just below us right now. He's like right down there somewhere. Okay, anyways. Okie dokie says it's a photo first camera. These cameras for video shoot 1080. Okay. I have not seen this, but it's an odd music choice. Yeah, it's like super odd.
Anyone can take beautiful photos with a smartphone today.
Mm-hmm.
Digital cameras are still competing with each other in multifunctionality. But GR is not the camera with the concept of all-in-one. Versatile smarties are boring. The GR is a minimal tool that the photographer's senses are directly fed back as an extension of their body.
One thing I will say, I don't mind the approach of doing like a single purpose concept. In many ways, like the video is describing, it helps you stand apart. You attract a different type of audience. This is more of an aesthetic thing. I kind of wish the body looked different. You know, it's like if you are going to be a single utility, single purpose, I feel like they could have at least provided more versions of the camera. Like I don't know where I'm going with this, but I feel like just like doing the full black model doesn't feel as vintage as like if you see some of the like the aluminum or like that steel look or a leathery look. I'm not sure. This is a opinion though.
There are 5 development principles for GR. 1. We do not compete in a number game using catalog specs. 2. We do not install a function only because it is a fad.
And that's what I'm saying is like, for me, I kind of almost want the camera, it should be almost like a fashion statement. And you can completely disagree with me, by the way. Because like, oh yeah, Oki, you said, I'm choosing now because I know their 30th anniversary is going to be very expensive. I could see them raising the prices. Yeah. I think from their side, their customers want to be stealth. And, assuming this brand, stays relevant for another 30 years and like imagine by the 100-year mark, holding on to this camera also, I'm hoping for your sake as well, that it would retain its value and it can be like a collector's item. Their customers want it to be stealth. Yeah, that's a fair point. If it's meant to be stealthy, then because I was going to say, hey, I would kind of want it to be a fashion statement. So something that if you see me shooting with it, immediately your thought is like, what is that? It's not a Sony. It's not a Nikon. It's not a Canon camera. It's not Fuji. Why does it look so different? And then it just becomes like a curiosity. But that would mean it's the opposite of stealth. So I get your point. They do have the special editions, but all that changes the ring color around where the ring attaches to the body. Okay, let's see.
3, we do not design only to draw attention. 4,
sounds like I should just continue watching the video because they clearly explain their statement, their mission.
4, we do not change models easily. 5, always challenge and propose something new. As you see, the GR is a product made with our special feelings. So if you own a GR, we encourage you to use it until it is full of scratches. One can easily get bored with excitement and seek more stimulation. But when the heart is moved, that is the feeling which one wants.
What's the megapixel of this camera?
To continue experiencing. The GR is not for excitement, but to move one's heart. It is a product that can share the moved feeling and grow together with its fans. We hope to expand this circle with the fans, who we call GRists. So our communication with the fans is not exactly a sales promotion, but a part of the product. Photography is to face the society. Its art is only a result. Snap shooting is the base. It's art.
For a second, I thought the photo on the left was from that TV show Slow Horses. I thought it was that one famous actor. Anyways, snap shooting is the basis. All right, all right. Well, I mean, it sounds. I like what it's trying to do. So let's see. GR4. You mentioned the 4 is 25. Okay, so that's pretty powerful. That's more than my Nikon ZR, which I think is 24 megapixel. Pentax owns Ricoh. Oh, okay, interesting. That's why I kept seeing the word Pentax earlier in the Google search. Okay, so then your question becomes, which focal length is better? Because you said you could consider the GR3X or the 4. This is the 4 and the 3X. Okay. So let's see. What's the APS-C equivalent then? What is 40 millimeter APS-C in full frame? Roughly 60. Interesting. 60 to 64. And then what is the 28? 42 to 45. You know what? With that in mind, I feel like you should go for the 40 millimeter. Oh, wait, what was it? 40, yeah. Here's my thinking. One, if you say it's for stealth, then when I think of stealth, I think of the utility of when I'm shooting with like a 70 to 200 millimeter lens when I'm traveling, where I don't want a local, let's say if I'm photographing some cultural moment or some locals on like street vendors, whatever, I can shoot from afar, and ideally my lens does not draw attention then, right? So stealth is more useful in my opinion when you're shooting something very far away-ish. Wait, does that even make sense? No, what I mean to say is when I'm shooting someone and I want to be stealthy, ideally I'm shooting from far away. So to have a stealth camera that's purpose is for shooting at 40 millimeter, which sounds like it's like 60, 65 full frame, then the value of its stealthiness is more apparent. Whereas like you know, if you're shooting someone right in front of you, good luck. You're never going to be stealthy no matter the size of the camera. So it almost doesn't matter. So I feel like to have something that can be stealthy but shoot from afar is quite nice. So that's where a 40 mil, in my opinion, probably makes more sense. However, you mentioned the GR4. Oh, wait, no, that's not even the anniversary one, though. The 4 is, okay, let me see. GR4 monochrome. GR3X. Yeah, you know what? I would choose, assuming the quality of both cameras are fairly similar, I usually prefer the longer lenses. So to be able to shoot at the 40 mil compared to the 28, I just find that there's a little bit better compression in the shot. So when you're taking a photo of some subject, it tends to look just a bit more cinematic, or at least a bit more standout. Versus if you shoot at a wider lens, then it's more like if you're trying to capture the environment. So if your style of stealth shooting is like when you're traveling and trying to capture street, like just like the broader environment of the street and stuff, then by all means, 28's perfect. I've looked at photos from both and they look good. Both look good. It's just the focal length I'm looking at. Yeah. Like I said, I prefer a longer lens. So that's where I would lean towards, is choose the 40 mil. Because like, for example, when I'm traveling, the shot that, or the length that I prefer right now is the 85. I feel like the quality that I get with the 85, for me, stands out a lot more than when I shoot with like a 35 or 50 or anything else. Let's see, where was I when I was in Munich. Let's see. This is the closest I got to like quote unquote street photography, but I did find. Let's see, what focal length were all of these? Oh yeah, I can see on the side. So I shot this at 85 millimeters, 85, 85, 85, 85. Yeah, these were all part of the 85 series. And this was probably my best photo that I took during, I was doing this photo challenge in Munich. And so with that 85, I was able to shoot this through an opening in a fence. So then you get this like interesting lighting, like this blurred effect in the foreground, and you can still get a nice separated shot of this mailbox. And I felt like with the 85, it was much more possible compared to if I had shot with a 28 or, you know, like something wider. Just, I would have to crop a lot more and I wouldn't get the same effect. And then this is what I shot with the 35. And in my opinion, I struggled a lot more on that day when I was shooting with the 35 to kind of like find a subject, find something in my shot. But that speaks to more my inexperience than anything. I just find 85 is better, but I'm also coming from a wildlife photography standpoint. So I'm more used to shooting something far away and having that frame of reference and perspective, right? So it's different. But this is why I was doing the challenge. Because then these days, this day and this shot, these were when I was shooting with the 14 millimeter full frame. So it was also kind of teaching me and like stretching my skills, I guess, of like what to look for in certain moments. And there's a few of these that were hits. I like these kind of shots with the 14 millimeter wide and then cropping in. You get some cool depth that you can play with. But yeah, it was a struggle session. And then the 70-200, I struggled with quite a bit. And then, yeah, here's another 85. And then that was with the 400, so that doesn't count. You said, I personally find it wild that they make a monochrome only model. I feel like it also locks people into that look. Oh yeah, what's the price range? Like I said, I kind of, I appreciate the approach where it forces you in on a specific thing. GR for cost, let's see. Typically around, what is that, like $2,000? Or roughly, yeah, roughly $1,800. Well, it's not cheap, but, I mean, yeah, it's not cheap, but it gives you a certain look. So I totally get the appeal of it. So, yeah. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you providing this information about a camera that I've never heard of, owned by Pentax. So I'm learning more and more. Now, usually what I like to do is I like to play a couple games of chess just to warm up the mind before I get into my photo edits. So if you don't mind, if you'll indulge me, my vice, let me kick some ass in chess. And I say this knowing that I'm going to get my ass kicked. Man, I had a poor stretch. Last time I was doing this on the stream, I think I was at like 1600. Right now, my rating is at 1533. So I lost several matches consecutively. So what can you do, you know? All right, let's see if I can win this one. What to do? Okay, I can... You know what? I'm going to play defense. I'm going to play timid and just to see what he does in response. And then at some point, I'm going to go full send mode. Just not sure when. Ooh, should we do it now? If I take, he takes, I take, but then he'll take with that. So I don't have the upper hand. Not yet. If he takes, I'm going to take with my queen. It's, dang it. All right, fine. Okie dokie says, also, it's not weatherproof, so I'd be somewhat nervous, but with the first scratch, I'd go all in. Well, listen, yeah, if for the 30th anniversary, if they come out with something quite unique, then I'm all, you know what? It's like, it's a 30th anniversary. How often can you have that? Exactly. Only once. And how do you pronounce it? The guy never said in the video. Is it Rico or Ryko? I feel like a Ryko sounds a bit more impactful. I have to play faster. I'm running out. I'm running low on time. He got the upper hand on me this time. What to do? Let's back up. All right, I think I got the upper hand. I'm reclaiming myself here. So we're back to tied because he put himself, but then he'll just take this pawn, which is fine because I say so. I don't actually know if it's fine. We're going to put pressure on the queen so he can't take this with the bishop. Then I'm going to take this, which then threatens. Ha ha ha! Got him. He was being too clever for himself, all right? There we go. Okay, we got the dub. You know what? I'm okay to end on this one game. So. Oh, wait, Charlie. Sorry, I missed your messages. Oh, my God. Wait. Sorry, Charlie. And, oh, you got average PP in the chat, too. I apologize. I said something earlier. I should probably just reference it again. My chat function is broken in OBS, so I have to like look at two different screens to see the YouTube chat and the Twitch one here. So sorry, Charlie, you had mentioned a few things, and we have average profile picture in the chat. Charlie says Ryko cameras. I have found that Ryko cameras are hugely overhyped on YouTube. Ryko cameras are similar to the Fujifilm X100 line. It'll be a great camera for sure, but I personally just think YouTube overhypes it. Interesting. So it's a big thing on YouTube. Charlie says, best comparison is that Ryko GR. What do I go with? Ryko G. I'm going to say Ryko. Ryko GR makes a premium camera in the style of a Nikon Coolpix cameras. Okay, I'm familiar with the Coolpix. Average profile says, may I ask what in the heck the thumbnail is? Which thumbnail? Oh, my YouTube thumbnail? You know what? I like to have fun by just like taking a fresh photo every single time and then putting a photo of what I edited the past stream, if that makes sense. Charlie says the baby gorilla on the thumbnail. It's no, not a gorilla, a chimpanzee. We're focusing on chimps today. Average profile picture says no, the 2 foot long hair. Oh yeah, my hair has gotten pretty long. Obviously you guys can't see it here because I have it ponied up because it feels super annoying when it's like, it overheats my face if I let it down. I'll show you guys at some point. Super expensive camera though. I really wish I could try it. Yeah, I was also confused by the long hair, says Charlie. Yeah. Listen guys, I got pretty long hair. I said if at some point, not if but when we crack, when we become a Twitch partner, when we get to that level of streaming is successful, my brand has grown, then I will chop off my entire hair and then I don't know, donate it and do some fun stuff. 25 megapixel, the focal lengths they give is the full frame size. Oh, interesting. So wait, 28 and 40 is referring to 28 and 40. But then it's an APS-C. So, yo, Oki, thank you very much for following over on Twitch. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm glad I earned your support. I would say the 40 mil is probably better, yeah. 28 millimeters will match the look of mobile photography, so unless you take all your photos up close, you'll have a larger depth of field, yeah. These are good points by Charlie. Charlie says a monochrome model would be cool, assuming that it lacks an IR filter and therefore is IR monochrome. I've never done any IR photography. I only recently discovered that whole infrared photography concept. So, yeah, I wish I knew more. Oki says, well, limited edition could always mean it would be $10 billion trillion. Yeah. I think I was also here during the Amazon server outage. Wait, I remember that. I mean, that was a while ago, but it was funny because then I think on my YouTube title I said like, oh, my internet's down or whatever, Amazon's down. And then that got me some people following my channel, which is funny. All right. So I got the chess out. We got some photos to edit. So just as a quick refresher, these are the top photos that I had edited so far. These are from the first couple days of my trip when I went out for the shoebill stork excursion. So these are all the fully edited versions for now until I get tired or I want to explore different ways to do it. So quick note, and this one right here happens to be my favorite of the photos. This was shot with the 400mm and my Nikon ZR, and the ZR is what? It's like a 24 megapixel equivalent, just for reference since we were talking about it. Oki asks, what bird is that? That looks like a dinosaur? Hells yeah. I do call it like a prehistoric looking animal. It is called the shoebill stork. I've made a few YouTube videos, okie dokie, not to self-plug myself too much, but I mean, this is my stream after all. At some point, if you hop over to my YouTube channel, I hope you check it out. I hope you follow me there and check out all of my latest videos. But I have also done a travel series of my first time in Uganda. And each episode references a different activity, like chimp activity, gorillas, as well as the shoebill. I think it's like episode 4 of that series. Feel free to check it out. You'll see where I show, minutes long footage of the shoebill. I show you the experience, how to get to see this animal. It is an incredible animal, and it's also the animal that of all my footage, of all the things that I've posted online, this thing had the most virality. Actually, one of my photos of this shoebill, it was posted by the popular Instagram channel Nature is Metal. They had reached out asking if they can use one of my photos for like a photo book that they're doing for their anniversary or something like that. And so one of my shoebill shots will be in that book. So that was kind of cool. But then a Instagram reel / TikTok I made of the shoebill. I've told this story so many times, but basically I posted on TikTok. I don't know how to use TikTok, but once I posted it there, it blew up 1 month later. So it's always funny. You never know when something goes viral. You hope that all of your stuff goes viral, but what can you do? The shoebill video just sat there, and I had like maybe 300 subscribers or if that on TikTok. After this video 1 month later started getting picked up, it got me like 100,000 followers on TikTok and like 20 million views, which, didn't garner much more than just like, that was really cool. It was cool to see something I created travel around the world. So it's all thanks to this crazy looking animal called the shoebill stork. That's my favorite photo from this trip that I edited. And then these are some of the other ones, some different versions. And then this was a trip where I was taking a couple photographers with me for a photo tour. So you'll see some of them throughout here as I edit those photos. This is when we were starting to head over. We took a domestic, like a charter flight to chimp territory. So this is when we went into Kibale. One thing I noticed here, I think I need to re-edit this one, right? Because there's a few segments here that my subject detection kind of picked up, so it doesn't look as clean. I see it in second glance, so I think I need to highlight. We might even, I'll just mark this one as something I need to work on later. So then this is on the drive as we were heading into Chimpanzee Forest, otherwise known as Kibale Forest. This is that olive baboon that hopped onto the hood of our car for a few minutes. And then we got into the chimps. So I edited from our first chimpanzee trek. I took mostly video over photos, but I'm glad, obviously, I'm a hybrid shooter. While I focus more on the video side of things, it has been really fun to, especially since I discovered Dehancer, it's been really fun to see where my photo quality can take me from a creative perspective. Yo, we got Kavai in the chat. Kavai says, hello, Yobel, nice pictures. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, we're just having a chill photo editing stream today. These were some of the chimps that I had edited the last stream. And where do we end up? We got some super cool ones when this chimp was on this like boardwalk, walking towards me and then dipping. I think this is where we stopped. Oh yeah, so this is the final photo that I had edited. So now we got to pick up from where we left off. So what is next? All right, so let me start focusing. I'm going to figure out the next photo from this series to edit. Probably, is this too similar to this one, I think? Yeah, I think this one's fine on its own. So let's move on to these guys. And while we're doing this, let me go ahead and start up one of the YouTube videos. Oh, and then also something I've been starting to do is I'm recording behind the scenes every time I'm doing these photo editing sessions. I've got like this whole vertical format where eventually, if I figure this out, I'll post these as like Instagram stories or reels or shorts as a way to promote me consistently of like when I'm doing my photo edits. None of that probably makes sense if you're just tuning in for the first time, but point is I'll be recording some stuff at the same time. I'll show a little bit of that as we go. All right, YouTube videos. Let's see which one to start with. I'm sure you've heard the term before. Time to Say Goodbye from Peter McKinnon 2 days ago. Very clickbaity title, but I'm intrigued. What is he saying goodbye to? I have no idea. Christopher Nolan breaks down every format to watch The Odyssey. Hells yeah. I've booked my tickets for this Sunday, I think, with a couple buddies. So I'm very excited to watch this new movie by Christopher Nolan.
What's up, y'all?
Now we got Colin Kelly doing a behind the scenes. I think this will be very exciting. So shout out to Colin Kelly. We've discovered him early into my color grading journey as I learn how to be better at videography. And his videos are excellent. His skills are top notch. So I would be curious to see what his behind the scenes studio looks like. 3 lessons it took me years to learn as a landscape photographer. I saw this one while scrolling, and I think this could be useful to watch because I'm also always curious about what kinds of YouTube videos that I should be working on. So I feel like one of those styles should be lessons learned, you know? So while I mix in some footage of my travels, being able to either add some voiceover where I explain like, here's some things that I didn't know how to do, here's some techniques I've learned, blah, blah, blah. So I think these are always good to watch to get a better sense of my own videos. And then from Thomas Flight, who we watched a few of his on filmmaking, Hollywood's Obsession with Ambition. All right. So we'll start with Peter McKinnon. We'll just go in order. Why not?
Now, I'm sure you've heard the term before, they don't make them like they used to. But wow, they do not make them like they used to.
How about this gas-saving 6-cylinder engine they're putting in the Bronco this year? Incredible?
It's frisky, all right.
Also, in terms of the photos, I've got 2 from this series that I've bookmarked to edit. We've got one where the chimp, you can see they're grooming each other basically. And I think it looks like the chimp on the left is eating one of the bugs that it picked off on its companion. But I think this shot is better because there's more separation. It's more clear what's going on. Like you can obviously see the outline of the hand separated from the silhouette of the face. So I feel like this is a probably better composition, better shot. Whereas here, especially with the weird lighting coming through from the canopy, it kind of might be harder to make sense of what you're looking at. Like this hand almost blends in with the chimp on the right. So I'll probably prioritize this photo here, and then maybe I'll copy and paste the edit style to the other photo. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's how we'll go with it. All right, let's watch.
Sometimes if you get lucky enough, the objects that you introduce on your channel become like characters on that channel. They develop their own personalities if they've been around long enough. And this truck for me, right here, Walt, has done just that. It's like family, but it's time to say goodbye. And I'm moving on from 1977 to 1979. I'm here with Curtis at Ford, and we're waiting for a guy that has my new vintage truck on a flatbed coming from Ottawa.
Let's go.
And we thought he'd be here like an hour ago. And
First
he's
things
gonna
first.
be another hour.
It is high. It is very high.
I think I'm going to go with the wide angle on this one, so we'll chop off parts of it. Definitely a landscape, or maybe it could be portrait. Hold on, let's see. If I do portrait, yeah, it'll be cropped most likely. So it might not be best, because then I'll have to zoom in too much. So unless I'm doing some story focusing on the hand, so here, maybe something like this could be interesting for a cropped like portrait version where it's meant to focus in on the hand. So possibly, I'll have two versions of this photo, one that's landscape and one that kind of hones in on the hand. But the question just becomes around like, well, will it get too blurry by the time I crop in this much? Probably, so I'm not leaning towards that. But I also mentioned one thing I want to test out more and more is doing these like super wide angles, right? So imagine a shot like this. Now, obviously you're cropping quite a bit, but it's like a new style or format that I really want to keep stress testing and like make a whole series in the same formula or the same format. So I might do that later. For now, I think we'll stick to a 16:9 and just grab the entirety. We can always crop in later. And then I feel like I need a, I don't know why, it feels a little bit off. Something like this, would it help? Yeah, we'll go with something like this. Let's see what we can make out of it. Kavai says, in the way he's talking about, oh, that my Titanic canoe has become a character in my streams, in the way he's talking about in the video. Oh, interesting. You got your own Titanic canoe? That's great, man. Man, I can't wait to, I need to do that trip back to Norway. I swear, we'll work on it. One thing at a time, though. But.
That looks good. That looks real good. I feel like it actually looks better than I expected it to look. Like I think initially I was like, I want to beat up old patina truck, and I figured like, oh, they waxed it, and it's like, it looks brand new. Oh, that's hurry up. Take your time, but hurry up. It's way cleaner than I thought. Very clean. Did you take a look under it? Oh yeah. I got to see it in the daylight though. Is it green or is it black? Brown. It says it's brown. No one knows what color it is. I thought it was black. Gallon of paint we bought right there though. Oh, there we go. We'll figure it out. It looked brown to me. Alright, so we got one brown, we got a green, and a black. Nobody knows yet what color this truck is.
So a key part of my photo editing kind of workflow is generally when it comes to shaping light, trying to figure out if I like to pick a direction, right? So I like to have light coming in from the top left or the top right or wherever. And so the question is, I'm using my presets to also give me a sense of like which solution is better, which version is better. Part of me can see a world where, like for example, in this preset, when it's like super bright on the top right or in the back right area, it kind of makes sense to say like, oh, there's light coming through from the canopy lighting up that area, whereas the foreground is still a bit darker, so you still get a play on the lights and the shadows. But then the other part of me is curious if I could have a light source more towards the front and center and to the left, so from the top left side. So decisions to be made, but first I'm just kind of running through the list of presets to see if there's like a style or a look that I like.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I think it's black. Get the flashlight on. Yeah, dude, that's green.
Oh yeah, this too. That's like a dark forest green.
Green it is. It's definitely green. The truck is green. Confirmed. Do you have the keys? Alright, let's get in this
Yeah, the
bad
guy
boy.
that I picked it up from, he's
Oh. Yeah. Well, that is very high. Oh yeah. That's way higher than I thought. Okay. Oh yeah, this is this is extremely lifted. Yeah. Oh wow. First time. It feels way higher. It's just because it's a shorter body. That's the stance. It's a shorter body. Like you gotta think. I feel like I'm in a monster truck right now.
Apparently the tires were bigger.
They changed the net. That carburetor doesn't want to go. Yeah. Oh, love that. She is running now. Going for a quick rip. It's got to be done. It's got to be done.
Literally everything used to be made better. Everything. People took pride and joy in what they created and brought into the world, even if that was a manual for a car, an instruction manual. The textures, the color, the layout, the photos. These days, this is probably just a PDF. I mean, just look at this flat lay. They were doing flat lays before we were doing flat lays for instruction manuals. The buttons felt better. The lights looked cooler. The seats were made with more care. Everything about these vehicles was unique, and everything about products from that time, from these eras, were more unique. They were built to last. That's something that we use as marketing these days, but I don't think it's something anyone actually believes or practices. There's a reason I'm still driving a truck from 1977, and that's not even technically that old as far as classics go. Now, I don't want you to worry about Walt here, because, to be honest, he feels like part of the family. I've had this truck for too long and I've gone through too much with it. I'm not getting rid of it, but it is time to say goodbye for a little while, because Walt is getting a big brother. Come on.
Okay, that died on us 3 or 4 times on the way to the gas station. The fuel gauge was reading very low, and you never trust a fuel gauge in a classic car. Learned that. I actually learned that a few weeks ago. I've known it, but I learned it firsthand on the way here too. So it's funny, like the engine just kind of like quietly shuts off, and then you have no power steering, and you know very quickly that it's she gone. So throwing fuel in this thing, and then we're just gonna take it back, and Curtis's guys can mess with the idle and see if we can get that.
Kavai says, yes, if you come before end of August, you can meet me and we can do an IRL stream collab. We had tourists come and visit the Husky farm today. They're really happy, and it's not too expensive either. Neither are the plane tickets in August. Yeah, fair enough. August TBD. I'm still fingers crossed. I'm trying to get a film project out. I'm hoping to go to Uganda again to like film some things, but there's a lot of things behind the scenes I need to focus on. But yeah, we'll see if I can make August. Possibly.
Carburetor tuned a bit better, but it's here. It's incredible. Sounds good, smells good. The clearance lights are sick. I'm already at $100 for 45 liters. That sounds about right. Oh, there we go. $100. I'm 6'3", and this is hard for me to get into. So I guess without...
I'm choosing to shape the light more towards the top left, so more in the foreground.
Oh, now we got the buds too. I got the buds before. That was easy. Made it back in one piece. It did die again several times, but it'll get tuned. Thus begins the journey. So it's here. That's step 1. Get ready. Get your body ready. You'll be seeing a lot of that truck. Reminds me when I got Walt, I forgot about how much work we did to it. With like the fuel injection and the brakes and the torque converters and just figuring everything out to make it run as smoothly as it does. I think I've taken it for granted. Like that truck runs so well, but the journey to get it there is quite exciting too. So this is the beginning of that journey. Oh, it's cool. It's cool. It might be taller than my Raptor. Wow.
Now Ford, the long-distance champ. The longest range of any pickup in America. Ford, the long-distance champ.
Okay. I think for me, I don't know the first thing about cars, so that doesn't really interest me much. So, but yeah, I mean, it's Peter McKinnon. More power to him, whatever he's doing. Christopher Nolan, let's see, breaks down every format to watch the Odyssey. Now, hells yeah, I am so excited for this. Let's see here, full screen it. But not as excited as I am for the Dune 3. Dune 3 looks so incredible. I've said this before, but if I could have been a part of any making of a film, if I could have been a part of the team making a film, I feel like to be a part of the Dune team, Dune 1 and Dune 2 were so good. I feel like in the modern era, in the past few decades, this will be hopefully the best trilogy created. As long as they don't drop the ball on the third one, right? Because before that, I feel like all time it's Lord of the Rings. That is like almost damn near perfect trilogy. Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Dark Knight was incredible. The third one, there's a few moments where it just felt too cheesy or a little bit over the top. So it won't be the best, in my opinion. Fingers crossed that Dune will be so. All right, let's watch this.
We were seeing prototypes, months before it actually came out, and I wasn't sure they'd be able to pull it off. And when we saw the actual prototype, that was a pretty thrilling moment. But Hoyter and I both had the same reaction to it, which is if only the IMAX camera itself were that size, because it's a little bit smaller, a bit easier to use. But it's an incredibly faithful reproduction of what that machine actually is.
And what is the image that's in there?
The image in there is of the horse, and it's pretty terrific. If ever there were a film that we wanted to do entirely on IMAX, this is the movie to do it with. I wanted to shoot an entire film on IMAX for a very long time. I mean, really since I was about 16 and I first started seeing documentaries in museums like the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, watching films like To Fly on IMAX. And even as a kid, I was thinking, well, why can't we do an adventure story this way, an action film, a horror movie, what have you? Back in 2007 with The Dark Knight, when we were planning that film, I approached IMAX. We talked about using their cameras to shoot the action scenes, the key action scenes of that movie. And we did that very successfully. We were thrilled with the way it worked. Over the years, we've tried to incorporate IMAX technology more and more through the films it made, from films like Dunkirk and Interstellar, and indeed Oppenheimer. But what we've never been able to do before was to shoot the entire film that way, because the cameras themselves are very loud. They're taking a very large amount of film, 65mm film, running at 15 perforations per frame. This film has to transport through the camera very, very fast. It creates an enormous amount of noise. We would always use it for action scenes because noise wasn't really a factor. We were building the soundtrack afterwards, but for dialogue scenes, that made it impossible. And so we challenged them to build new cameras and to build a blimping system that we could place an IMAX camera in and mute the sound of the camera sufficiently that we could shoot an intimate dialogue scene, have the camera very close to the actors, and have them not only be able to record the dialogue, but also have them be able to perform in the way they need to perform without the distraction of, a very loud camera. IMAX was able to develop that and step up. We were able to shoot the film that way. My director of photography, Hoyter van Hoytema, and his team had to find all kinds of ways to take this very large camera, over 300 pounds worth of equipment, this very large box. In a way, it was like going back to an older era of filmmaking where cameras were extremely large and cumbersome, but of course with the requirements of modern filmmaking, where the camera is fluid, it moves where it needed to move effortlessly and so forth. And so Hoyter and his team had to find ways to do that with a camera that's much larger than a normal film camera. And they did an incredible job. And I think that when I see the finished film, I don't see any compromises with how we had to make the film. It's really about taking the IMAX canvas and using it to let the imagery play out on that larger than life screen. He had shot a fair amount of the film before we really knew whether we would be able to do the whole film or not, because when you're out on boats, for example, and we were shooting all of that material, people project over the waves and all the rest. You're able to record this out even with a loud camera. You're able to use software tools to filter this and get a usable track. It's really about the quiet moments. And so about halfway through the film, we got into the most intimate scenes. The scenes between Telemachus and his mother Penelope, Tom Holland and Anne Hathaway acting together, Matt Damon playing Odysseus. There are flashbacks, the most intimate scenes between him and Penelope. Those quiet moments were what we didn't know if we could do it, or how we would do it, how we would mount this camera on a dolly system, how we'd be able to get the actors to act with this large camera right there. So one of the things
Dator says, back from lurking. Well, hells yeah. Welcome back. We're just doing a bit deeper dive edit into this one chimp photo. So hope you enjoy the results.
That I challenged the camera crew to do, and Keith Davis, our first AC, did a great job with this. Is I said, can we rig a system of mirrors? Because you have this giant camera with a cameraman, with Hoyter on the camera, and you've got an actor trying to see another actor around it. So we actually had to rig a system of mirrors where they could see each other through the mirrors and act, to each other and for each other, rather than, acting to a piece of tape on the side of the camera, which is often what happens even with a regular camera system. So it was things like that we had to work out. And really, after we did the first of those quiet scenes, at that point, Hoyter and I looked at each other and said, yeah, we're going to do the whole film this way. If we can do this stuff, then we can get everything. And he and his guys found a way to get all of the different things we needed for the narrative. Once you've committed to a format in that way, and you're not having to make those choices and swap out camera systems, you're really going, okay, what can we do with this amazing tool? And the more we played with it, and the more we were in these amazing locations, be up a mountain in Sicily and looking at these incredible cloud formations coming behind the palace, and just get the actors out there in front of the camera and just grab this material and start using the camera in very, very spontaneous ways. I think when we first started using IMAX, almost 20 years ago now, everything had to be carefully planned. We had to really think about, we were very intimidated by the camera. And Hoyter and his guys, over the years of using it, they've really started to treat it more and more like any other camera. And that's where it's really free, where you really start to be able to just be spontaneous with it and get things that are occurring in nature, particular weather patterns, or be out on a boat, pitching sea with it, things like that. That's really the excitement of where you're taking the format places you haven't been able to use it before. The insert shots, getting these extreme close-ups, sometimes of the detail of something. Those shots are absolutely thrilling on IMAX, the same way a giant landscape is as well. It's still 3 hours on the film prints. David Keeley, my IMAX mentor of 20 years, who passed very sadly after he finished his work on the Odyssey, and who the new camera they built, the Keeley, is named after. He actually dragged me into the booth at some point in this film to show me the final limitation of this 3 hour limit on the film prints, because over the years I challenged him to enlarge the platters or came up with a clip system to hold the film end, when it got a bit bigger than the platter, that kind of thing. But there's a particular arm that, would require an entire rebuild of the projection system to get beyond that. So I finally said to him, yeah, okay, I'll stay under 3 hours. The really fun thing with Dolby Vision is you're looking at a very, very high contrast ratio, incredible blacks, very, very high peak whites, peak brightnesses. So for something where you've got, for example, lightning and thunder, and obviously you're using the sound capabilities as well, but there's a nighttime storm sequence in the film that we were able to, take the lightning effects. The way Hoyter shot it was, as if you're there on the deck of the ship and you can only see what's lit by the lanterns. You can't see the ocean out there. And then in a flash of lightning, you suddenly see the threat of a wave coming and all the rest. And those wanted to be very overexposed, very bright. And with the Dolby Vision, we're able to give, that's one scene in particular where we're able to use the capabilities of that projection system and have a really, really spectacular presentation of the movie. Really using the imaging of the sound formats, Dolby and the other different presentation formats. We're really trying to use the space that can be created with the sound effects. The music by Ludwig Göransson and the sound effects, the soundtrack by our sound mixers. It's really creating a soundscape. And that's not something I always do. Sometimes I prefer to keep the sound very much at the screen. But in this case, with this larger-than-life image and this immersive world we're trying to create, we really want to have a lot of detail in the soundtrack that really envelops the viewer. 35mm film is just a wonderful way of seeing any movie. We were able to do optical reductions from our IMAX negative to make the 35mm in a purely photochemical way. And so these are very, very beautiful prints. I watched the first tests of it, was very excited. And then when we saw the finished 35mm version, which is an anamorphic expansion to 240, and it's a really beautiful image. Has a little more texture than some of the cleaner formats like the IMAX format, but it's a really beautiful texture. It's very filmy, it's very cinematic. You really get the color representation, analog color is really something quite beautiful. Time is such an important part of this story. It's a 20-year time span, and so you're really looking to find ways, even with the appearance, obviously the physical appearance of the characters, you're having to age them in different ways. But I think more than that, it's about a kind of spiritual kind of weariness that you're looking for. Certainly Matt and his crew, we've got a lot of great actors to come together, and frankly, some of them just have one or two lines, but they came together as a group of guys to be his crew and go on this journey with him. You see this weariness, you see the adversity that they're put through and what they're dealing with, and you get the sense of time passing. And where we see them in flashbacks before all this, and they're sort of younger and vital, there's a mood, there's a sensibility to the performances that really tries to give you a sense of the enormous passage of time. It really is one of the things that makes the story one of the biggest stories ever told, is this achingly long period of time that Odysseus is away, and the length of the siege of Troy. I mean, you're talking about a 10-year siege, and it's very important to try and convey that. We were able to shoot a lot that we were very happy with, and so then the challenge is, how do you wrestle all that into shape that's comprehensible for the audience and involving for the audience? And that involves, not using a lot of things that were quite hard to shoot. It's always why you need a great editor who's ruthless with the material. Yeah, Jen, she's a wonderful editor. I'm there on the day we're shooting it. I'm going through it with everybody in the crew, and how difficult it is to achieve something or whatever. But if it doesn't serve the story, it has to go. That's really the sensitivity of a great editor to what's really essential for the narrative. It's not about the camera you use. It's not about the format you shoot on. It's really about what story you're telling. And that's really down to capturing an image and then capturing a subsequent image. And how does each shot, each framing, each particular image you're capturing, how does it advance the narrative? It sounds simple when you say it that way. That really is what it's about. For me, what that means is, whether you're the person wielding the camera or you're directing in a different way and you have a cameraman or whatever that is, your job is to be the audience on set, whether you're looking through the eyepiece or on the screen, or whether you're looking at a monitor, or whether you're just watching what transpires. Your job is to be the audience and say, okay, how does this shot move me? How does it advance the narrative? And apply that to each subsequent shot.
Here's some Letterboxd data for you. You have made the most popular film.
Jesus. So it's like a 13-minute video. I didn't even hear it. I didn't even think that there's a interviewer. The first time we see that there's an interviewer or hear from him, it's like 11 minutes into a 13-minute video.
Subsequent shot.
Here's some Letterboxd data for you. You have made the most popular film that is on Letterboxd, Interstellar. It's the most favorited in our membership. It's also the most watched.
I'm thrilled to hear that Interstellar has continued to have a life out there in the world. With Interstellar, it's been thrilling to see it come to new generations of filmmakers. And every now and again, we get to re-release it and get it out in cinemas again. Actually, this year is the 20th anniversary of The Prestige, which is a film that I'm very excited to get back on the big screen, which we're going to do in January with Disney and Warner's, and so that'll be back on screen then, and hopefully some newer film goers will be interested to try and catch that. That's what you hope for with your movies, and certainly with The Odyssey, my hope is that it has a long life. I've read more translations and adaptations of The Odyssey than I can remember at this point. For me, the idea was to thoroughly familiarize myself with the events of the narrative in all the different ways I've seen it, including, I think my earliest exposure to The Odyssey was in primary school. I was probably 5 years old, watching the older kids put on a play where they had, the Trojan horse, and they were strapping Ulysses to the mast, hearing the sirens and that. So I think in adapting this, really the challenge was to try and include, the things that people would expect to see in an adaptation of the Odyssey. And that's really the challenge with adaptation. Can you make it for people who are very familiar with the text and for people who are really coming to it fresh? Because ideally you've got to please both.
All right, well, listen, I'm excited. We'll be watching this. One of my friends is true Greek, okay? He's as Greek as Greek gets. So he's also a big film buff. He does a lot of film stuff himself. I have a feeling, there may be some strong opinions that come from this. I'm curious. I'm excited. I hope he enjoys the movie. It's about his culture and everything. I have a feeling he's going to, have some opinions. I've heard This movie is going to be controversial. So it'll be a fun conversation afterwards. I hope we all enjoy it, though. Okay, what's next? Let's do Hollywood's obsession with ambition, because it's about the bear, which is my favorite TV show right now. Let's refresh.
Imagine you have a dream you're striving to achieve. You're
Wait, what is going on? There we go.
working hard, perhaps for years or decades. You've made sacrifices to get to where you are, and now you finally have your shot at really making it happen.
We're gonna get a star.
But what if, as you get closer to your goal, your ambition shifts from a source of motivation to something more tormenting? You're finally getting to do what you wanted to do, but you find it difficult to even enjoy that thing while you do it. This, by all appearances, is Carmi's reality in the FX show The Bear. For him, every success seems quickly overshadowed by the next thing he needs to do, the next improvement he needs to make to really get to where he wants to go. In chasing his dream, he's paying a steep price. He's chronically stressed, he's blowing up at the people around him, he ends up pushing one of the real sources of happiness in his life away because he thinks she's getting in the way of his goal, and he alienates the very people who are helping him get to where he wants to go. But it seems like he can feel it. He's almost there. He can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe he hopes he'll finally have a sense of satisfaction, peace, and happiness once he has those Michelin stars within his grasp. How often do we find ourselves, like Carmi, so lost in the pursuit of success or self-improvement that we're unable to enjoy the journey? Or you've dedicated so much time to achieving that goal that you're no longer able to enjoy any other part of your life. Carmi's experience with ambition is a theme we've seen explored in the movies countless times, whether it's the tension between ambition and relationships in La La Land and Whiplash, or the psychological cost of relentlessly pursuing artistic perfection in Black Swan. Cinema is packed full of stories about the cost of ambition, like we see in The Social Network, There Will Be Blood, and The Godfather. In Oppenheimer, we see a man who's haunted by the results of his ambition. The Wolf of Wall Street shows us a society that rewards the ambitious, regardless of whether they lie, cheat, or steal to gain their success. Citizen Kane explores a character who finds emptiness on the other side of success. These are just a few examples in a sea of stories that either celebrate ambitious characters or warn of ambitious pitfalls. And I think it totally makes sense that this is a common theme. The tension between what we want in life and what we might have to sacrifice to get that is a central conflict in many of our lives. So it makes sense that we're drawn to big romantic cinematic portrayals of that conflict. But I do wonder if in the midst of Hollywood and American film's obsession with ambition and ambitious characters, we're missing something. Like, we're skeptical of ambition in our stories, but that skepticism is only about how ambition is directed and used. Whether we're celebrating positive ambition or warning against its potential dangers and pitfalls, the presumption seems to almost always be that the protagonist will be ambitious. What would it look like if we told the story of a life not defined by the relentless pursuit of ambition? Have you ever noticed the beautiful shifting pattern that is created by sunlight streaming through trees? It shimmers and dances almost like water, but in its own unique way. It's sometimes only there for a fleeting moment, and it can turn a dead log or plain wall into an impressionist painting unique to that moment, created by the relationship between the sunlight, trees, and wind. The Japanese word for this is komorebi, a word without a direct...
Komorebi. That's like one of my favorite words. It's like scattered light. I made a post about this years ago. When I travel, when I see a moment of this komorebi, it's one of my favorite things to photograph. Just any moment where you see that sunlight peeking through. And I think that's kind of the genesis behind why I love doing these like light shaping. So you even see as I'm editing this photo, I'm accentuating light coming in from the top left, whereas other parts are super dark. And it's to kind of amplify this feeling of scattered light coming through, peeking through the through the canopy to light up your subject, right? Nicely. But yeah, I remember once I saw that, I Googled, I actually took the time and I learned this word called komorebi. Well, okay, funny enough.
English equivalent, created by the relationship between the sun. It's sometimes only there for a fleeting of ambition. Have you ever noticed the beautiful shifting pattern that is created by sunlight streaming through trees? It shimmers and dances almost like water, but in its own unique way. It's sometimes only there for a fleeting moment, and it can turn a dead log or plain wall into an impressionist painting unique to that moment, created by the relationship between the sunlight, trees, and wind. The Japanese word for this is komorebi, a word without a direct English equivalent that encompasses not just the phenomena itself, but also the feeling associated with appreciating it. It is this pattern of light that's often noticed.
Okay, quick pause. I think this is the final version of the photo. I'm kind of happy with it. So yeah, this is where I've ended up creatively, I'd say. Yeah, I ended up doing 2 passes of my own photo presets and edits. But we went with the Dehancer. It's just that after I put it through Dehancer, and then when I was running it through some of my presets, I realized I kind of liked this look where, you know, make it a bit brighter, again, pointing from one corner of the photo and have like a brighter green effect, and then the rest being a bit faded out and dark. So yeah, this turned out pretty good. I mentioned before, though, I'm doing a lot of dark photos, so that hasn't changed here. Do I want to spend time to see if I can do a focused shot of this, though? I guess we could see what it could look like. Hold on, let's create one duplicate. What if we did... Let's do a shot like this, and then maybe center it a bit more. Something like this, maybe. I mean, it's kind of like an artistic format for sure. Or, you know, obviously, I don't know, something about this also speaks to me. There's like a unique story with this cropped in version. Here, obviously, we get the full picture, we get the full body, we get the general idea of what's happening. This one just feels a bit more artistic, though. I'm kind of leaning towards this. Let's just see about... Do I want it higher or lower? Let's see. I do think I need it lower. There's just a... When I have it... Or sorry, when I have the cropping like this extra space above the hand feels a little bit out of balance to me when I look at it visually. Whereas this one, I don't know why. It feels better to my mind. So I think we're sticking with this. We're going to go with my gut feeling on this one. Yo, what's happening? We got Cyronius back in the chat saying, yo, Bell. Yo, and also, I'm looking at my phone to see my Twitch chat. So if I miss your message, I apologize. It's not on my monitor. I have to fix it after the stream. Cyronius says, I tested your setup and it's pretty clean. Just got to cut some holes for the fans and it's ready. Yo, I'm so excited. We just had Kavai in the chat. He was inviting me to come visit him in Norway, and then we could do an IRL stream. And I was like, oh man, I can't wait to get my first practice using this backpack system. And then hopefully, I don't know how possible it is to do that in Dubai per se, but at the very least, it'd be nice to like maybe go in my buddy's Jeep, drive around, test out the stream, and then yeah, go from there. Be like one of you, Cyronius. Cyronius says, also check out this new feature I put together for my streaming tools. Yes, hold on. The problem is I can't open it from my monitor because I can't even open up Twitch right now on my browser. Let me try again. Maybe it's fixed. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it's my computer specifically, but for some reason when I try to open up twitch.tv, it doesn't work on my desktop. The app still works. So how can I, maybe if I copy this, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy your link. I'm going to WhatsApp the link to myself. And just in case, hold on. I'm going to WhatsApp the link to myself. Then I'm going to open up WhatsApp, the desktop app version. And then I'll click on that link from here. Wow, so many steps. Let's check this out though. All right. So he said, check out this new feature I put together for my streaming tools. So this is the link you sent me. So now it tells you, if I'm reading this correctly, or basically every photo you take, it actually shows you where you took it. That's pretty cool. It's like, you know what? This is kind of like, it's how normal people have those watch apps that tracks their runs, right? But this is like the equivalent for photography. That's really cool, man. I use a real-time IRL to track my spot, then marry it to my photos. Nice. So then you can see, yeah, I see. So every photo, zoom in. This is kind of cool, man. I mean, I say kinda, this is really cool. So is this something that after your stream, you share this link to people so people can actually see everything, or how exactly does it work? Because I see a lot of value in this from a street photography standpoint. Oh, by the way, Cyronis, are you familiar with a brand called Ricoh? R-I-C-O-H. I had someone in the YouTube chat earlier ask my opinions on Ricoh, the GR camera. I was like, oh, never heard of it. Wait, oh, there it is. Okay. You said the gallery is generated live. That's pretty badass, man. Yeah, this is super cool, dude. There's like a really cool IRL. There's a cool streaming concept to this, right? Or you're making the experience more experiential, immersive, more interactive. So as someone watching your stream as you're doing this photo walk, I feel, especially the fact that you said it's live, that's kind of cool that people can actually see in real time as you're taking the shots. And then also, I guess, God forbid your camera breaks down or your memory card gets wiped, at least I'm assuming it'll survive, or it's now at least some version of it is available. I'm assuming. But yeah. Super cool, man. Super, super cool. You're like on another level with this stuff. Cyrona says, after stream, I can just import the path file from RTIRL. The Ricoh GR is a nice compact camera. A lot of street photographers love that camera. Yeah, so this is more like a journal of my walks. Yeah. See, as a YouTuber now, the way I view that is like after I do a photo walk, let's say, it'd be cool to then show that and like talk through like, hey, so here's my journey, and then being able to show click by click, you know, the shot you took, and then like voice over whatever, you know, was happening, your thoughts behind it, stuff like that. That's really cool, man. But yeah, thanks also for the update. I'm super excited. I'm still waiting, which reminds, I'll send the message tomorrow. I'm still waiting to hear back on the build out of the Rodecaster case, or like the Nanook case for all the video switching stuff. And then, oh, and then I think my contact from the company, she's been on PTO for a while. I think she's back now. Let me just send her a message before I forget. Apology if I got the wrong date. You're back. Okay. But yeah, things are hopefully starting to wrap themselves up in a nice bow. Sarana says, I might integrate it into my website at some point, make a heat map, etc. Maybe tie it into AI to get tags or search my lenses. Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about that, but you know, I was like, oh, could I see value in applying this as well For my wildlife stuff, not so much, because one, it doesn't really, well, it can actually work detrimentally, if that's a word. There could be some adverse effects about geotagging where I captured certain shots of animals. Depending on the animal, sometimes like they require, or they, well, depending on the location. So I think some places when you travel to, for like national parks, they do request that you turn off the geolocation, because let's say if you take a photo of some famous elephant or some lion and some poachers, you know, it sounds weird that you would think this would happen, but it apparently does. If people can geotag where you captured the shot and when you captured it, they might be able to kind of, what do you call it, triangulate and figure out where to hunt the animal. And then some animals also, it's like you don't want a lot of people to, let's say you take a crazy cool shot of some animal, you don't want a lot of other fellow photographers to start swarming the area and doing things to disrupt the wild. So generally speaking, you know, like the geolocation stuff is not so good for wildlife, but for like city walks, if I were to be exploring Vietnam again and having that ability, I think that's like pretty, there's some, if you can create a nice template and you've already gotten a pretty decent template there, right? So if you do some additional stuff on top of it, refine it, I do feel like you have some really awesome concept. You said will be super cool for sponsorships in the future. Yeah, man. Look at you, man. You're always doing some crazy ass stuff. I respect the hell out of that. To me, I admire, the people I admire are always people like yourself, but people who are being pioneers in whatever passion or pursuit, who are always constantly just like trying to reinvent the wheel or changing, just constantly looking to grow, right, in whatever you do. And it's clearly very creative, the stuff you're also pushing. So good shit, man. All right, so this is the photo. I think I'm happy with it in both versions, whether it's the full screen kind of landscape or the super wide angle, focusing in on the hand. I think we're good. So let's move on to the next photo. We get some kind of action shots here. So blurry shots, but this is when the chimp kind of got a little bit close to me as I was walking by. So I figure, listen, I mean, would I have preferred a super sharp photo? Yeah, obviously. But in some respects, the blurry shots can look really cool for wildlife, especially because obviously it gives off a bit more of like an action vibe. So let's see which one. Will I edit all three? This one looks good when it's in a small screen. This one also looks good. This one's slightly sharper, but for a little bit farther away. I say slightly sharper, but it's still not fully sharp. So I think it makes more sense to lean into the blurriness. But then I'm looking at the thumbnail over on the other screen here, and I feel like just the bit of sharpness there doesn't look too bad. Yeah, maybe we'll lean on to this one. So shot number 1 and number 3. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's start working on this one. Serenity says, I have so much cool shit to show you. Can't wait for you to get your bag. Get my bag. Isn't that like a Gen Z phrase as well? I also hope I get the bag. But yo, we have, sorry, I missed the mute. Mute says, I'm about to go on a safari. I was thinking of getting a Nikon ZR. Do you have a recommendation on lenses I should use? I was going to get a wide angle one and then borrow a longer lens. I live in New York City. Was going to use it mainly for video, but also for a few still photos. Yo, Multi. You've come to the right place with your question, my friend, because I've been shooting a lot of stuff on the Nikon ZR, both photos and videos. Since I got the ZR, my focus has been on video. So that sounds like it's in line with what you're talking about. But I've also been taking photos with the ZR. So for example, these photos that I'm walking you through right now, these were all shot with the Nikon ZR. This entire trip, basically, from the very beginning, these were captured on the Nikon ZR. If you would like to see more examples of my footage, there is a video I made on YouTube called Island of Second Chances. and that was fully shot with the ZR. It was the camera that I was lent. No, sorry. Well, they lent me a version. I have my own now, but they gave me one of those pre-production units to go out and film with it. So I pitched this film project called The Island of Second Chances. I filmed, there's like 55 rescued chimpanzees on this island as part of a sanctuary in Uganda. And so first time ever doing anything like this, but I put together my very first short film, and it was shot with the ZR. I'm really proud of it, and I was so impressed with the ZR. I don't know Jesus, I can't see fully on the screen. I don't know if you are like how professional you are with filmmaking. If you're coming from like a proper filmmaking background, the ZR might be considered like, you know, in the beginning stages of that understanding. If you're like me, where I never did anything in the professional film world, I was just doing a few travel vlogs prior to this. I say a few, about like a year and a half of like learning how to vlog my safaris, things like that. It was a huge step up. There's a better dynamic range, so I was able to capture better in like crazy lighting situations. Just so many things about it we can go into in detail. Let's see, you said I'm primarily buying this for underwater videography. I dive 2 to 3 times a year, but since I'm going on a safari soon in about 2 weeks, I was going to pull the trigger on a Nikon ZR. Yes, I say absolutely go for it. And if you do, make sure to use my affiliate link. I don't know if I can't give any discounts, unfortunately. Whereabouts are you located? Let me see if this works. Tell me this works. Some things are broken. Check out my website. I think this is the link. Yeah. Feel free. You can see all of the gear that I shoot with, how I travel, stuff like that. You said not a very pro filmmaker. I do drone videography though. Well, that's pretty badass, man. I don't know how familiar you are with my content, but I will say, oh, you said NYC, so I was going to go to the B&H there. Oh, fair enough. Damn it. You should use my link either way. I think my link is to B&H, by the way. But obviously, if you've got the physical shop, you would rather just go there. Okay. The salesperson part of me aside, if you do check out my YouTube video, I've made a number of videos, including a review of the Nikon ZR. I don't know if you've happened to see them, and that's why you're asking me through the YouTube side of things. But just in case, I will link you that video. Where are you? There it is. It's called the Nikon ZR. The Nikon ZR is a cheat code for amateurs like me. Let's post this in here. Cyronia says, I have so much, exclamation mark Nikon shit doesn't work. Exclamation mark ZR. I should come up with that, but I would never put shit and Nikon in the same sentence. Come on. Mule T says, I'm just not sure what kind of lens to bring by borrow. Okay, cool. Let me help out then as much as I can. So, because I did also shoot with the Nikon ZR in Tanzania. So basically for the past 2 months, from March and April, I was traveling in Munich. I was in Munich as a headquarters, and I was traveling to Uganda and Tanzania. So I was there for different projects. Let me see if I can pull up the Tanzania photos, because that will give you a sense, because obviously I was there. I was there for specifically photography. I was basically a photography instructor, but all of this was shot with the Nikon ZR. So I think this should give you a good sense. Hold on. Let's see. Where can I find all of my Tanzania? Dun, dun, dun. And I do want to re-edit these anyways, because now that I rediscovered Dehancer, like this will be fun. Okay, so I think some of these should be my top photos that I was editing. Let's see if I can rank these so we get a better sense. Okay, let's do a quick little walkthrough. So these are examples of shooting with the Nikon ZR with various lenses. Cyroni says, hello, LOL. Okay. And sorry, if I miss a message, I'm kind of having to look at my phone and then the YouTube chat on my desktop at the same time. You in the Masai Mara. Nice. I'm hoping to go to Masai very soon. I'm supposed to do a test of like live streaming from there. So I'm very excited for when that happens. So let's see. This was shot with the 400. Basically, okay, unfortunately, this might actually be the best. Siren says, you're good on missing my messages. No, I didn't think I missed it. I saw you tried some exclamation mark stuff, but that didn't work. So these were all shot with the 400. So Milty, this might not be the best example because I shot with only the 400. But for a general sense, I am a huge fan of shooting 400 for these like Jeep safaris. For underwater, I have no idea. The most acceptable besides that, if you have like a 180 to 600, there's like the 180 to 600 f4 to, is it f4? f4 something to 6.3. That's an excellent lens, especially if you're doing videography, right? So if you're doing videography stuff, by all means, that 180 to 600 is fantastic throughout the entire range, whether you're shooting at 600 or 180. Because I think video is a bit more forgiving with like if the footage is a little bit too soft, let's say. So if you don't get as tack sharp focus. Whereas like if you're only in photography mode, shooting at the 600 millimeter range on that particular lens, I did notice it gets a little bit soft at times. I tested it in Japan as well recently. Sarni says, I was just trying to get on your ass about making some smart command for your linking to content. I did spend some time. I need to link it to some maybe hero videos, like my key videos. Right now, I've just kind of got too lazy and I just said exclamation mark YouTube, and that just takes you to my YouTube channel. I need to reignite maybe at least a few of the ones that come up the most. Multi says, underwater, I'm going in December, so I can't worry about it. I can worry about later. Just need something ASAP for the safari. Okay, well, definitely get the ZR. And then an accompanying lens, I would say, is definitely, it's more about the focal length than it is about the aperture. So getting like that 180 to 600 is probably the best. If you can afford the 400 2.8, by all means. But also part of me thinks, because Nikon just announced the 180 to 300, right? Or is it 120 to 300? Maybe it's the 120 to 300 f2.8. I'm super excited for that lens to test out. But I'd rather bring a max of 2 lenses. Okay. So 70 to 200 generally is like a super nice lens because of the f2.8. However, the 200 as the max is not so nice. What you could obviously do is put on like a 1.5 or a 2x teleconverter. And again, if you're focusing on video, that softness is more forgiving. So then I guess even at a 2x teleconverter, what are you at? 400 millimeters, right? 400 millimeters f5.6 with the 2x. And so if you've ever shot with the 7200 2.8 with the 2x teleconverter, you'll notice, especially with the heat distortion when it gets a little too hot, you're not going to have a very sharp image at that max length. But for video, pretty damn good, you know? If you want to see an example of a 7200 with the ZR, I should have showed this first because I was on it. I'll hop you to... Where is it? Man, I have to do better at like organizing. There we go. So these were 400 millimeters, but there is one example coming up that was shot with the 70 to 200 with no attachments on the boat safari. So this was all done via a boat. Where are you? Hold on. I should have short-circuited this. Yeah, so this was shot with the 70 to 200, and the subject was like decently far away. Let's see if I can show you the original shot. Okay, original shot, here you go. So you can get a sense here, we're fairly decently far away from this bird that's like, I think like over a meter tall, or I don't know what that is anymore. It's pretty big, right, as far as birds go. So we're pretty far away, and then I ended up cropping in quite a bit, and I still ended up with a fairly sharp image. And even for this distance, and there was a bit of heat distortion as well, yet the 7200 was able to keep a fairly sharp focus on the eye. So even once I punched in, I think this is even more than the 100x, 100% magnification. So even after I cropped in quite a bit, The sharpness was still pretty good, and you had decent compression against the background. So I think I would point towards this one. Milty says, I will primarily be on the Jeep for the safari, and then one day we'll be on a hot air balloon. For the hot air balloon, I've done this a long time ago in Myanmar and Turkey where I had a camera, but this is before I was super into, like, I didn't know anything about video, so I have no idea. But the problem is the heavier the lens, it's a bit more precarious on obviously the hot air balloon. So like I did shoot with the 7200 years ago, and actually here, look, I told you Milty, you came to the right place, okay? I have some photos way back in the day, which I can probably pop up in a second here. I have some photos from a hot air balloon with the 7200, so it can at least give you a good sense of like some of the landscapes that are possible. Let's see. Where it was from Myanmar. Myanmar was when it was after Ireland. Okay, it's coming up here somewhere. There we go. Oh, and Myanmar is also where I discovered the term komorebi. So everything's coming full circle. But I was mentioning earlier there's a concept called komorebi of like the scattered light. And first time I Googled it was because of this photo here from Myanmar. Now the photos won't fully load because I think most of these photos are not actually on my hard drive. So it's probably going to look super blurry and soft, but let's just run with it. So there should be some photos coming up from this trip. Here we go. So landscape wise, a 7200 can be super cool, right? I thought this was a fantastic photo because you had sunrise and you have pretty good depth, and there's a lot of fog kicking in, so it made it look super cool. But yeah, you can get some shots like this with the 7200. I feel like 7200 is probably best. That range and that 2.8 aperture is pretty nice for when you're even on a hot air balloon, while also being a good enough zoom to hopefully, you know, zoom in on, let's say, if it's an animal or something. I think I do have an example of an animal that I pointed at. Let's see. Again, don't mind the blurriness because these photos don't actually exist on my hard drive right now. But oh yeah, I was editing for presets. There we go. So yeah, man, I've never done it in Maasai, but with the 7200, you were able to punch down, right, and crop in if you get a nice like overhead shot. Not my best. I didn't know what I was doing, but yeah. You said, how many batteries do you think I should bring, and how much storage do you think I will need to buy? This is all insanely helpful. Yes, of course, I'm here to help. But yeah, like I said, if you ask questions about the ZR, I do feel uniquely positioned to at least provide a lot of my own experience because I shot with it quite a bit. I made a film with it. I traveled for 2 months across 3 projects with it. And let's just say the quality was good enough that I impressed. I mentioned I was on a project with CNN Create back in March, and it was with the Uganda Tourism Board. And I was just there as a secondary camera operator. The main crew, they were shooting with like Sony FX6 and Sony FX3. And I was able to impress them with my tiny little Nikon ZR. So, and they ended up using a lot of the footage for the final video. So I think it can hold up quite nicely against the competition. Let's see. You asked, okay, so how many batteries? I've got this product, which you should definitely check out my affiliate link. Hold on. Can I go back? I think I have it on the list because I did update it fairly recently. Is it this link? Yeah. So on my website, I should have a link to all my gear. And as part of that, there's one. What was I going to look up? Maybe I didn't update it. Hold on. It's the Tilta. Okay, I didn't include it here yet then. No matter. There's this one product which I should put an affiliate link to soon. Is the Tilta battery thing. It's like the Nikon ZR Tilta battery 4 battery. charger. This guy. I know a number of people who use it. I have it, and it worked out amazingly. The battery itself, also, you can just charge it directly with the USB-C, which is kind of cool. And then it's like a 4-battery charging system. And this was a lifesaver for me for all 3 of my trips, because I was filming a lot, but then also I had to charge a bunch of batteries, not just my own, but for some of the instructions that I was doing, the photography tour, the training workshop. This guy. So it's like a 4-battery charging system, this thing here, and it works really well. The only gripe I have about this is like it's annoying to take the top lid off. Like you need to use 2 hands to take the top lid off, basically, because there's like 2 little things you got to push on the sides, and the size of the thing is a little bit too long for me to just be able to do it with 1 hand. That's literally it. Like besides that, practically speaking, like effectively, this is incredible charging, and it's super compact. So I would say bring at least 4 batteries, you know? The ZR does a really good job in terms of battery life, but because you're going to be out in a desert safari, just factor in that the heat could also, you know, have an effect. So I would say have like 4 batteries, and that should be good enough. And what else? What else? Oh yeah, in terms of the cards, that one I do have on my website. I use a bunch of these. These have never failed me yet, knock on wood. But for my storage cards, I use these pro-grade CF Express Type B cards. For the recent travels, I've been using 1 terabyte cards. And I doubt you're going to film as much as me, but generally speaking, if I spend like 9 days on a trip, I end up filming about 4 terabytes worth of footage, let's say. So like every trip, I usually end up capturing around 4 terabytes worth of video. But I'm also shooting a lot of 6K. I'm shooting R3D, you know, in the best versions possible. So the 1 terabytes just allow me to not worry too often. And then I have the you know, portable SSDs. I can use those Tilta batteries, or should I use the ones from Nikon? Yeah, use the Tilta ones. I don't actually know. I didn't do ever like a comparison. Let's Google this real quick. How does the Tilta EN-EL15C battery compare to... It's not like a Nikon one, right? Isn't it like a Sony, or do the normal EN-EL15C? I do have a number of both, but yeah. The Tilta is an aftermarket alternative. While both provide reliable power, the Tilta version differs primarily by build. I mean, I know the difference. I'm saying the capacity. So technically, by this chart, if we believe it, the capacity of the Tilta one is slightly higher in this like MAH, which I don't know what it stands for, but like the battery capacity. It's got the built-in USB-C charger I mentioned, which is kind of cool. In-camera charging, both can do it. Yeah, so technically, it sounds like the Tilta might be slightly more powerful, like slightly better battery life, and it's got all the other unique functionalities to it. So I'm assuming it's also maybe more expensive too. I don't know, but I forget if it came with it, but I have 2 of those Tilta batteries plus the battery charging station, and it's fantastic. Honestly, it's just, yeah. It's nice waste. Obviously, you can hold all 4 batteries inside the case. And so it's also good for when I'm traveling, like in terms of portability. It's always been super annoying where do I place all my batteries and my chargers and all that. Not sure, but the Tilta one has a deal with 4 batteries in the charger. Yeah, just get that, man. I mean, you definitely, you need at least 4 batteries, especially the more you shoot and more film you do. Like the chances are you're going to always need extra batteries. It's never hurtful. It's never harmful to have too many batteries. So yeah, like for me personally, I think I've got like 6 to 10 batteries of different stuff, but like definitely the EN-EL whatever 15C, I think I've got like 5 to 6 of them. I wish I had the freaking link to this so that I can send it to you and make some money off of a commission, but you know, what can you do? What can you do? That's on me. And then yeah, I have the Tilta cage for my ZR. And I prefer that. By the way, this is also big advice for you, Milty, unless it's too late. do not buy the small rig cage for the ZR. Do not do it. I don't have it with me, but it's unfortunately, because I'm a big fan of the small rig as a company, like all the stuff that they have. But when it comes to this particular camera, the ZR, the way they designed for the ZR is not the best. Their top cage, it like basically is placed in a way that makes it hard for you to hit some of the buttons while you're shooting. It's just in the way. So it was like super frustrating. It's a point that I made before. So I ended up going with the Tilta. Speaking of Tilta, the Tilta cage for ZR. Man, I need to update my freaking list. I can't believe I didn't put the Tilta stuff in here. I thought I updated it very recently, but maybe I missed a few. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, anyways. The Tilta cage for Nikon ZR. This one not only looks really sleek, it's just better practical design. And what I mean by that is, unlike the small rig, they have this like, is there like a top-down view? Let's see. Okay, not the best example to show from. Anyway, so like if you look at this side here, the way the cage is designed, it's not like the metal cage is overlapping the top of the camera here. There's nothing on the top here. It's not like a full connection. Instead, it dips down. So you can see here, the cage is on the top of the camera here, but then once it gets to all these buttons, it actually cuts down. So there's a big cutout. It's got a really nice like built-in grip, and then it just circles around. So it leaves all of this in the top right section over here. It keeps it unobstructed, so your fingers can hit all the buttons as needed without some annoying cage bar in the way. So this one has been fantastic. It's a little bit pricier than small rig, so just keep that in mind. Haven't bought anything yet. We'll probably head over to B&H later today. Nice. Yeah, man, I'm excited for you. But definitely check out my YouTube videos. A lot of the ones that I've done recently, they're all shot with the Nikon ZR. I think we're done with these photos, yeah. But yeah, I would say the 180 to 600 is an interesting lens if you're going to focus on video, just because it gives you that nice range. However, depending on your budget, even if you get the 400 4.5, that's also a fantastic one, and obviously it's much cheaper than getting the 400 2.8. So a 400 4.5, I used it on my recent chimp when I went for the Island of Second Chances. I just, I was focusing on the video over the photo, but the quality was fantastic. So, yeah. All right. Where was I? I was on Uganda. But yeah, man, I'm glad you're asking these questions. It feels good to feel like, oh, I can actually help out with this, because it is right up my alley in terms of what I've been doing. So yeah, like I said, all of these are shot with the ZR for photos. Usually I'll be in video mode. So generally speaking, if you're tuning into my stream, I usually am more focused on video edits versus photo edits, because that's where most of my time is spent, is like learning how to be better at videography, color grading, all that kind of stuff. However, I was mentioning specifically, I need to edit a lot of these photos from Uganda as soon as possible, because it's going to be part of the vlogs, and the video stuff I've already kind of gone through. But if you want to see basically how I work, I use DaVinci, and all of what you're seeing here, well, not all of it, but a lot of these footage, I travel with 2 Nikon ZRs, and I've also been shooting with a bunch of action cameras, so like a DJI Osmo Nano for some first-person point of view captures, the Action 6 on my shoulder for a little bit more action moments throughout my treks, and then the Osmo 360. But yeah, so you can see here, let's hop over maybe to the 60 frames. Do we got any nice photos, videos to show? There's a few of these chimp footage that I'm really happy with in terms of the color grading. Yeah, like this guy here. So this one turned out really nice. I mentioned it's kind of tough to film and photograph chimps and gorillas because you're inside the forest. There's like a lot of scattered light. Sometimes the lighting is very harsh. Sometimes it's way too dark. So it can be very tough. But this is where the ZR also showed itself. It proved itself because it's got better low light capture capabilities for film, right? So you get the ISO 800 and 6400 as the base ISOs. Multi says, I might try to rent a lens and buy another. Ooh, okay. Well, if you can rent a lens, try to rent the 400. 400 2.8. I don't know if they allow you to rent it. Or I'm assuming they will, but it's a pricey lens. But man, I stand by. If you want the best safari, if you're on a safari and you have one lens like to get the best quality premium, like award-winning shot, it's most likely going to be coming from a 400 f2.8 lens. No matter what you're shooting with, Canon, Sony, whatever, the 400 2.8 is probably the one that captures the most like high quality stuff around the world. Because it's just like it's a pristine lens. It's a pristine focal length. Usually with these Jeeps, it's also the right focal length to get a variety of different subjects without being too cropped in or too far away. The Nikon one comes with that built-in 1.4x teleconverter, so it goes from 400 millimeters to like 560, I think. So yeah. You said I might try to. I am trying to focus more on video too. Yeah. So this was shot with the 400. Very tough in the jungle because you're hand holding this heavy ass lens, but yeah, like I said, I'm a huge fan of the Nikon ZR, and the quality's fantastic, man. It's fantastic. I'm happy with it. And so, yeah, I usually, this is what I'll be doing a lot of times on my live streams, is I'll just kind of be going through behind the scenes as I try my best to work on some of this footage. How do we make it look super, super clean? You see me struggle as well, but oftentimes you'll have people coming in to the chat and giving me advice, which is always, always requested. Let's see, there's like one shot somewhere I wanted to focus on. Maybe it was in the 50. Where are you? Oh, it's from the next day. And one thing I was learning recently when it comes to color grading and doing like video stuff is I was just learning how to do more like masking, because masking is like super annoying for video, right? Because now it's like you're processing something over time as opposed to a single frame and getting it to look clean. But with the technology these days, like the auto masking features of the software is so good that it can automatically recognize your subject across time, across frames, and it usually does a pretty clean job. So now I am trying a bit more, at least for my key footage, to see if I can be more color grading, manipulating, like, making the background softer, doing other kinds of effects like hazing and stuff like that. One of the best shots, I think it's this one maybe. Yeah, I got some cool moments where you see the chimp walking forward in the low light. Milty asks, also, is a beanbag needed? I think so, yeah. Now, I have a recommendation for that as well, my friend. I think it's on that, on the link I sent. Hold on, let's open it up again. Because I think there are some options which are really easy to travel with. And I'll show you the one I use. Travel gear, where are you? No, oh yeah, here it is. So there's two, I think this one should suffice. There's one called, it's like lens coat beanbag support. So this one is like the smallest one, and it's pretty handy. I've done a number of Jeep safaris with this, no issues. So it basically, what you do is you just travel with it empty, so it barely takes up any space in your bag. And then once you arrive at the safari location, you ask the lodge if they can fill it up with rice or beans. Usually, or even like, yeah, preferably they just fill it up with rice. or beans, and then you use it, and then at the end you just give them back the rice and beans or whatever you use. And so yeah, this has worked out pretty nicely. I've since purchased one of these bigger ones. So obviously the value of this is it has a better ability of like looping over, let's say, the side of the car without it falling or anything like that. So it's just better weight distribution. You can also screw your camera onto the top of it. It's got like a heavy plate, like a metal plate that you can put in. You can do it upside down. So this one's just like the more versatile version of the one I just pointed out before. Either one's fine. Same concept, because you just empty it out. So it's easy to travel with either of these. You just fill it up once you're at your location. Just one is larger than the other, so just keep that in mind. But I've had a number of successful trips with the smallest version as well. Yeah, so there you go. The more you know, the more I can provide these information tidbits. I'm happy to. But yeah, so usually what I'll be doing on the stream is like we'll be working through the video stuff. It's the area that I have the most room for improvement anyways. It's also more fascinating for me in terms of like how much I can develop and like some of the techniques that we learn each time that's new. So like this one I mentioned, I was testing a bit more of like this hazing feature, cinematic haze within DaVinci. But then I applied the cinematic haze, I think, towards the background, or like trying to do it my best job to like apply that while also doing different masking for the subject. But yeah, man, editing for the chimps here was like super challenging. Just not a lot of good lighting when we were filming. But there's just a few moments that turned out super nice. Like I think this one, was it this one? Yeah, this one looked clean here because now we had some nice lighting coming through. Even lighting, there was no weird, you know, scattered light effect. And the chimp came up pretty close, so we ended up getting some nice moments here. Milty says, great, I'll get the smaller one since limited weight capacity. Yeah, like I said though, honestly, they both weigh nothing. You know what I mean? Because like it's when it's empty, it weighs nothing. It's just a piece of cloth, kind of, you know. Although I guess the second one, the larger one, comes with the metal plate, but you can remove the plate too. You don't need to use the, there's like a metal plate inside that if you want to screw your camera on top of it, you can. But it's not necessary. So again, at the end of the day, it's just a piece of cloth. One is larger than the other. In the grand scheme of things, neither of them will take up too much. They're not going to make or break your trip in terms of like, oh, you know, I would have been underweight except for this freaking lens coat, you know, beanbag. Yeah. So generally, this is what we'll do. Like I said, I'm kind of in photo mode currently. Where did it go? But the cool thing is I'm kind of, you know, working on the same shots in the same, from the same day. So this is the one we just finished editing. And now I'm going to work on, I guess I'll work on all three, but we'll start with this one. And go from there. But yeah, I'll shout myself out again. Let's see, !YouTube. Also, feel free, you can reach out to me via Discord. You can join our Discord community. There's a number of other photographers there as well. So if you also have like general questions, feel free to put it in there. Hopefully, as the community grows, we'll have people who can provide the best responses to you. On the YouTube channel, check out the Island of Second Chances, all shot with the Nikon ZR. You can check out my review video of the Nikon ZR, and you can check out a number of my recent videos, which were shot with the Nikon ZR. So clearly I'm a fan. Okay, let's keep watching this video. Let me start recording and editing the next photo, and hopefully we'll make some magic out of this. Full screen this guy.
This by Hirayama, the protagonist of Wim Wenders' 2023 film about a toilet cleaner in Tokyo. Amidst a cinematic landscape dominated by ambitious pursuits, Perfect Day sits in quiet contrast to most other stories that examine ambition. The film follows Hirayama as he goes through his daily routine. We watch as he gets ready for his day, listens to music as he drives to work, methodically cleans the beautiful toilets around Tokyo, is helpful when the opportunity arises, takes care of himself and his trees, reads, and dreams. Other things happen, but the repetition of this life is the core of the film. It's an entirely unambitious character living a contented and happy life in a movie that is beautiful, peaceful, and calm. And yet this is not the kind of story we gravitate towards. For Carmi, it's not just what he's running towards that motivates his unrelenting drive, it's what he's running from.
Because we had this connection through food, and he had made me feel so rejected and lame and shitty and uncool, I made this plan where I was gonna go work in all the best restaurants in the world.
Sometimes ambition can arise out of just a desire to make the world a better place, accomplish what we can, and live a full life. If this is the root of our ambition, and we understand and weigh the cost of pursuing that ambition, then I think it can serve us well. But where I think ambition can really become a trap is when it arises out of a desire to prove our worth because we feel unworthy and unlovable unless we earn it. Or if our ambition is driven by a desire to escape from a current existence that might feel too emotionally or physically painful to bear. Or in our modern world where we're more alienated from traditional sources of meaning like religion and community, I think visible external success can become a way that people try to live a meaningful life. In this way, ambition seems to offer us so much, but as our stories show, it can also come with a hefty price tag. If we're going to pay that price, we want to be sure that it's actually going to pay off. What about the people for whom the cost is not worth it? Or the people who lead lives that society deems not successful and then carry a sense of shame for not ever accomplishing more? What if you reach the light at the end of the tunnel and then instead of finding what you had hoped the success would provide, you find yourself emotionally right back where you started? There are, of course, many successful people who are content with where they are, but I think the number of stories about the cost and price of ambition that are often made by successful artists within our society also speak to very real experiences. And I think there are many people who haven't yet achieved success who wonder if the path they're on towards what culture has defined as successful is really going to be worth it. But if you find yourself skeptical of ambition, you might find yourself looking around and wondering if there's even another path to take. What does the alternative even look like? The movie is titled Perfect Days, which implies Hirayama is living a good life despite its simplicity and his lack of what is typically seen as success. At one point, he encounters his estranged sister. She pulls up in an expensive car with a driver. She comes from a totally different world, the world of success. Seeing where he lives, she asks, out of a sense of concern and maybe even disdain, if he's really cleaning toilets. Yet he seems to me, watching the movie, largely happy, content with his simple life in a way that many people more successful than him struggle to be. It's not just movies or television that are obsessed with ambition. Recently, I went on the App Store to download an app and was greeted with a page of ways I can optimize my downtime. Even our relaxation time is often perceived as valuable only because it recharges us for more important things or is time we can use to practice skills for self-improvement. And then on social media, you can be fed a constant stream of how to be better, how to be more fit, look more beautiful, make more money. The list goes on. And even if the content isn't telling you what's wrong with you and how to be better, you're often seeing a constant stream of people who look and seem like they're living better lives. The important critique here is not the validity of these individual pieces of content or any of these stories about ambition. We can separate that individual experience of a single piece out from the overwhelming total experience of all of this content together. And when you look at it that way, you have to wonder what's missing from that image. One day, Hirayama's niece shows up unexpectedly. She's run away from her mother, the successful mother, who is a part of a different world. They go on a bike ride together, and stopping on a bridge, Nico asks if the river runs into the ocean. Here, Hirayama gently guides her attention away from the next best thing towards fully appreciating where they are right now in the present moment.
今 今度っていつ？
今度は今度。
Next time is
今
next
は
time.
今。
There's nothing wrong with wanting to visit the ocean, but if our minds are always stuck where they could be, we miss out on being where we are. I think this movie struck me so profoundly because in this small, gentle moment, it encapsulated one of the most difficult but important lessons I've had to learn in my adult life.
Did you know when you were there that it was special?
I don't know. I think I was always too busy to know all the time.
When we're present, we notice smaller, subtly beautiful details that can be really easy to overlook. Watching a movie like Perfect Days is itself a kind of practice in this. It often finds beautiful compositions in the designs of the toilets or in Tokyo's tangle of buildings and streets. It slows down and kind of asks you as the viewer to appreciate the beauty of the mundane world as Hirayama does. I think a lot of people find this kind of thing boring, and it's not often I'm in a headspace to really fully enjoy and appreciate a movie like this, but that's kind of part of the point. Hirayama finds contentment and satisfaction in a life that many of us would think is boring. But maybe the vilification of boredom is part of what keeps us trapped in an endless cycle of constantly trying to get to somewhere else. Renu Vijaya Anand says, Komolebi nicely highlights the point that very often in our mindless pursuit of the light at the end of the tunnel, we fail to recognize the many little beams of light that have already passed by. Being present in the moment like this is sometimes talked about as mindfulness, an idea which itself has been appified, commodified, and sold to us as a way to make ourselves more focused and to be more productive. But according to Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, one of the leaders in research on the benefits that mindfulness can have for our health and well-being, you might think of mindfulness simply as the art of conscious living. Sitting down to meditate is one way we can teach ourselves to be more mindful and present, but being able to sit and meditate is not itself the goal.
I have to remind myself to breathe sometimes. I have to remind myself to be present, you know?
Why is it so hard to be present? Partly because I think it doesn't magically make us feel better. John Kabat-Zinn says mindfulness is not a cure-all solution. While it can help, being present doesn't eliminate pain, annoyance, awkwardness, or sorrow. And Perfect Days shows Hirayama facing all of these things. Like Carmi, he has a painful familial history, and his presence doesn't immediately heal all of those wounds. But being present does allow you to detach your sense of value and joy from some hypothetical future and actually experience it now. The difficulty of doing that is that in order to do that, you just also have to be present with any pain or discomfort that you're experiencing right now.
You good?
Yeah, I'm gonna crack it eventually.
I didn't mean the plate.
I think ambition can be this trap because it can entice us with this idea of perfect freedom from our stress, pain, and sadness someday out there in the future once we've done all the work and accomplished our goals. Every pain we experience now we see as just a reason to push harder to get there. It traps us into putting all our energy into reaching a hypothetical future while we dissociate from the work that needs to be done right now in the present to truly heal and the things about the present that we could enjoy. There's another moment where Hirayama's niece sees a girl being rude to him. Nico looks to his face in sadness, perhaps expecting him to be hurt or offended. He seems to realize what she's thinking and smiles. It's as if he's saying, the lack of recognition from others is embarrassing for them, not me. Her concern turns into a smile, and we see that his peace is not so easily disturbed by an outside force that he doesn't control. This woman's act of negativity, instead of spreading outward to Hirayama and his niece, stops with him. Instead of finding the imperfections in life as reasons to strive to be somewhere else or to be someone else, he finds them as opportunities for simplicity, humility, solitude, contentment, and slowing down to appreciate the elegant beauty that life hides in all its little corners and crevices. I think there's this profound sense of loss that comes with feeling like our value as a person is attached to whether or not we can succeed within an unfair capitalist system that we don't control. Some people respond to this system's unfairness by fighting even harder to achieve success within its confines. Some people fight to dismantle it. And I think those are valid paths to pursue, but
本当にトイレ掃除してんの?
I think it's also deeply radical to do the work of finding your sense of...
I like this. I've never heard of this film. Man, I usually am not in the mood for watching this type of it feels a bit depressing. So yeah, I'm not sure. But then again, The Bear, it's kind of does the perfect job of feeling depressing at times, but never too heavy. And it's they balance a lot of the heaviness with super punchy comedy, or very organic comedy. I don't know. Watch The Bear. It's honestly incredible. Multi says, I will probably buy the Nikon 180 to 600, 5.6 to 6.3 lens. Should I also rent a 7200 2.8 for a rental, or do you think that the 180 600 is a good one lens? I mean, I would say renting is always, not always, but I would say renting makes more sense if you're potentially going to purchase that lens, and if you're just kind of doing what do you call it, just a try and buy or whatever, a trial period. I think a 7200 is almost always worth spending money on. For anyone, you will rarely meet a photographer who doesn't own a 70 to 200. At some point you're going to end up with it, and some of your best captures will be with a 7200. No matter what type of photography you're into, whether it's street, landscape, wildlife, actually, I can't speak to underwater because I have no idea how those rigs are built, but I'm assuming it would work either way. 7200 2.8 is just if you had one lens to take with you on any trip, it's the most versatile. If I were you, the question then becomes, is it worth spending any money to rent it if with the assumption that you will end up buying it? Man, because $600 is not cheap, So yeah, 402. Yo, what's happening, King Crux says 402.8 is probably a better choice. Yeah, I mean, if you were to rent, but I don't know how much it costs to rent a 402.8. It can't be cheap. But if it's $600 to rent the 70 to 200, is it just better to buy it at that point? Because what does it cost to buy? Is it I have no idea. It's been a while since is it a couple $1,000s for the 70 to 200 2.8? And also they just came out with the new one, right? They just came out the 72.8 Mark II, which is even lighter and better, supposedly, right? Usually underwater uses 14 to 30 wide angle. I see, yeah. So I was gonna say, I would assume it's hard to go underwater with a big ass lens, because every time I see those cages, it's a bit more compact. So, and that one, I'm assuming you also want an aperture that's 1 point something or something. I have no idea. Also, I'm only planning on going to the safari one time. Not sure when I'll be back. Well, you'll be back when you join me on a safari. You'll join me on one of my group tours or custom tours. All right. Okay, fair enough. If you're not sure when you'll do another safari, the 7200 is also not the right lens for a safari anyways. I think the 180 to 600 is the route to go. Although, dang it, that's a tough one. Is it better to buy the 7200 and rent the 180 to 600? Because the 7200 2.8, it's just the lens that will last throughout time. You know what I mean? It's the lens that you'll end up using more often than not. Whereas the 180 to 600 is still very specialist in that sense that it's it starts at 180. It's really meant for wildlife stuff, or action stuff. You're not going to be walking around a city with the 180 to 600. You'll be walking around with the 7200 and you'll get some really nice landscape and punched in portraits. So if you had to spend money to buy, the 7200 makes more sense. Whereas renting the 180 to 600, if you're only going to do a safari one time, or with that assumption in mind, I feel it's better to rent the 180-600 or rent a 400 4.5. If you're already going to assume you're shooting the Safari with an aperture that's around a 5.6 or higher, then maybe you just stick to a 400 4.5. Don't worry about the zoom. Just know that you'll get better quality at that 400. 400, like I told you, is kind of like almost a universal guarantee, or like that's generally what the best focal length is for a lot of these Jeep Safaris. So 300 to 400, I think, is like the sweet spot. So I think actually it's better to rent that one. So either rent the 180-600 5.6 to 6.3, or rent the 400 4.5, and then purchase the 70 to 200. But also the 7200 is not going to be necessary for your Safari. I'm telling you that 200 is just not, it's not a good enough focal length for a lot of the wildlife stuff. They'll either be too far away. The 7200 shines when you got an elephant charging at your vehicle or something like that. But by then you're probably sticking your iPhone out to get those moments. I don't know. Or an action camera. I don't see the 180-600 for rental. Okay, fair enough. What about the 400 4.5?
Success and
Also,
self-worth,
let's keep
independent.
I'm going to keep editing this photo here. This photo is turning out really nice. So there's a lesson to be had here somewhere. I'll maybe figure out how to spell it out. But this original shot, it was blurry, right? The chimp is super blurry. But sometimes the focus or the sharpness doesn't always, it's not the end all be all, right? Like even as I'm playing around with some of these presets that I created, I'm just loving the look and feel of this shot. It almost doesn't even matter that the animal is not focused. Almost. So let me see if I can recreate a preset for, or let's see if I can start from scratch and get a specific look that I like. And Mjolty, as you get into more of this kind of video stuff and photo, a tool that I highly recommend is the one I'm using right now. It's called Dehancer, and I use it for both photo edits and video edits. It's known for the video side of things, but I've recently discovered it for photo edits, and it's honestly, I think it's fantastic. I've made a video on this already for Dehancer, and if you want to use Dehancer, I do have this one I do have a promo code for. If you type YobelPrize when you go to purchase Dehancer, why is all my stuff not working? What is it? Code YobelPrize. There it is. So yeah, if you use that code, it gives you 10% off. Hells yeah. What is the look that I prefer the most? Generally speaking, I stop at this Fujicolor Superia. Kodak Aero, what is it called? Kodak Aerocolor 4125 tends to be another one that I like. I've been choosing the Superia over it, so it is the Superior. So this becomes like my new base as I kind of review. This one looks clean. How does this compare to the Fuji? It's a little bit cooler, yeah? It's got a slightly cooler tone. Let's keep going. This one's a cool look in the sense that it's like a bit monochrome. Okay, I think we're gonna go with the Fujicolor Superia. And then we're gonna start slapping some effects on top of it. So I usually put on the film compression. This tends to be a tool that I use more for video. For like whenever I'm grading my videos, I tend to do the same thing every time. I increase the tonal range, which draws the light down, kind of flattens it up a bit. And then I'll bring the white point back into play. I don't do this as often or not as extreme for these photo edits I found. But yeah. So we'll do that. Let's turn on the print mode. So we can choose between the Kodak Endura Glossy, which tends to be nice for photos. It like retains the photo look. Whereas Kodak 2383 and this Fujifilm gives you a very unique kind of color elements to it. I'm not sure. It's a bit more of a creative look. And the question's always like, do I prefer a more creative look or do I prefer a more natural look? And I don't have the answer just yet. Let's play around with this a bit more. So before we choose, let's also turn, I've been enjoying turning on the grain effect. And a shot like this, actually, maybe given that the subject is already blurry, I wonder if I put in a bit more heavy grain would be better, because then it adds some texture to the subject, so it kind of mimics a bit of like sharpness, if that makes sense. So I feel like this is the route to go. We're going to go with the 35mm film grain. Halation on photos tends to not be something I use as often, but this one looks okay. Bloom I tend to enjoy, so we'll stick that on. And the question still remains, do we choose the Kodak Endura glossy paper, which gives a bit of a cleaner, warmer green tone? Or do I go with the Kodak 2383, which gives like a, it's got like a certain tealish coloring to the greens, which is less natural, but more creative, you know? I'm leaning towards going with that. And this one brings up the greens even more. I think we go with... Let's go with this Kodak 2383. Let's increase the density a bit. All right, I think we're good. Slap this back into Lightroom, and then I want to see if I can do a bit more edits on top of it. Mainly just around shaping the light. I think the colors look fairly decent. I might want to bring up the light just a bit. I just want to see what we got. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, I think what we'll do is let's create... See, let me lift up the exposure just a bit. Subject. I'm going to increase the contrast a little bit on this guy. Just a tad bit. Okay. Maybe I'll create one more kind of like top light coming through. Dun, dun, dun. Nah, let's not change the temperature. I want it to be like super soft. So we're gonna extend the effect a little bit like this. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? I'm not sure. Doesn't look bad, but maybe I'll lift the curve just a bit. Okay, I think that's the final version. The only thing I'm thinking about is like, do I want to add a bit more lighting to the back, or do we go black and white with it? There's a point to be made about going black and white. I want to try to mimic a bit of like the soft fogginess in the background. I'm just trying to think, what's the best way to do that? All right, let's add a bit more texture back into the chimp here. Okay. I think this is good enough. Slightly dark, but still fairly visible throughout. And we get a nice like kind of feel, a look and feel to it. The only thing I'm trying to figure out is like, do I want the background? Here, let's try something. What if I minus the subject? And let's see what would it look like if I create the same misty feel, but not touching the chimp. So just make it a bit cooler. Okay, something like this maybe. And then what do we think? No, I don't like that. Okay, I think that's good. All right, so we got the first one, but now I gotta replicate this on the next few photos. So fingers crossed there. Let's keep watching this video though.
An external system entirely. I don't think the philosophy presented in Perfect Days is trying to minimize the struggle of those who work incredibly hard just to survive what life has thrown at them. I don't think it's saying that the solution to every problem is simple acceptance, or that we shouldn't strive to make the world more just and fair. But I think it does suggest that acceptance and presence makes life's inevitable struggles more tolerable. And for some of us, it's worth asking ourselves if we are like Carmi, feeling like we're stuck trying to survive when really we're just trying to get to the next rung on the ladder, or are desperately clinging to what we've already achieved. I think it's also important to note this doesn't mean living mindfully is passive resignation. Here, Yama firmly and calmly stands up for himself when he's overworked by his boss. Mindfulness is not resigning yourself to a feeling of worthlessness. Instead, it's a heartfelt affirmation of the worth of even the small moments in life. Paradoxically, it's probably one of the harder paths to pursue. While hustle, beauty, and health culture challenge us to wake up earlier, work out more, be more productive, or invest more, you might find that just sitting down for 20 minutes to be with yourself and do nothing is more difficult than any of those things. And finally, I don't think being more present requires renouncing all your ambitions and dreams. Suddenly thinking you'll go off and live a perfect monk-like life of asceticism and presence is just another kind of ambitious perfectionism. In The Bear, a successful chef that Carmi idolizes is one of the most present and grounded people in the entire show.
So why do you do this?
I do it for a living.
No, but like, don't you have stodges that do this shit?
I think time spent doing this is time well spent.
Time well spent? That's what it's all about?
Yeah, I think so.
Being more mindful in the pursuit of your dreams might even help you accomplish them. And if it doesn't, it'll probably at least give you a more accurate view of your actual wants and desires.
Okay, for this photo, I honestly think it's better to do it full screen like this. I was struggling to figure out what's a better framing, but given how close the chimp is at this point, it doesn't make sense to do the super wide, because then you kind of take away how close it is walking past me. Also, I want to give it some size, you know? So I don't want it to shrink down in any sense. You want to see like this big, you know, chimp walking right past you, barreling straight towards you and off to the side. So I feel like actually this 2x3 is probably, I think we'll just keep it as is, which makes my life easier, I guess, in that sense. But I do want to copy over. So ideally, if I could just, oh, hold on, let's do it again. If I can just copy and paste what I've already done and then work off of that as the base, obviously that would make my life easier. So let's see if we can do that. That actually doesn't look that bad. Okay, so let's assume this is kind of already where we're starting from. Yeah, let's just say this is exactly as we want it. Maybe just with a little bit more light. Let's put it through Dehancer, see what we get.
To sleep in more. Want to go to London more. Want to go to a party. I want to meet people.
Live.
Precisely.
Carmi believes it's his intense singular focus that drives his success, but how does he know that's really true? Being present, we might notice that what we really want isn't another big accomplishment, but some rest. That maybe what we need is not a distraction from our emotions, but an outlet for them. That maybe what we need is not external validation, but to do the work of learning how to quiet the mean, self-critical voice inside our head.
You know, maybe if I could provide more amusement or enjoyment for myself, it would be easier to provide for others, you know.
I think you probably could accomplish a lot more than you think you could if you had confidence in yourself. And that's the message that we get from many of our inspiring stories about ambition. But if you don't end up accomplishing those dreams, or if you don't want to be great or ambitious, that's okay too. A movie like Perfect Days, I think, helps remind us that our true worth and value and ability to live a meaningful, contented life does not have to depend on what we accomplish in the eyes of the system or others.
Okay, we got the boom finished. So we've got 2 more photos edited in a way that I quite like. 2 different perspectives. This one is very much wide angle shot. I like it a lot. Even though the chimp itself is not sharp, there's still a story to be told here. Same thing here, the subject's not necessarily sharp. You can clearly see a lot of the motion blur, but I like the colors. I like the action that it conveys. And yeah, I like the framing. So we got 2 more in the bucket. Hells yeah. Let's keep on going. Now we're finally entering some of these nice close-up shots. Now here, this one's a bit challenging because there is some harsh light, you know, peeking through and just lighting up random points on the chimp's face. So in terms of like, it's not the best lighting to work with, but it is clean, sharp on the eyes and all that. So we'll see. And it's not the cleanest portrait. We got a little bit of branches here, but it's enough to work with. So I'm going to play with one of those. And then we're going to start entering one of these guys where I did underexpose the photo intentionally. So in some ways, you know, it's kind of baked in the right lighting curves and everything we want. But here we do have softer light throughout. So these ones should be more fun to play with in terms of like what creative direction we want to take it. And then we're going to have some nice close-up ones again of this chimp. It's a little bit, I don't know how to say it, but the way the shape of the head is, and it's like upside down, it almost, not to be too morbid with it, but it almost just looks like a severed, chimp's head. This is where I think when you have that nice bokeh effect, I shot at 1.2. So then everything around it gets blurry, so then you don't see the body, which is a little bit eerie, but what can you do? So these will be some fun shots. Let's keep going. Let's work on this one. Let's play.
I think Hirayama's Quiet Contentment offers a valuable alternative perspective on what it means to live a fulfilling life. Here, our protagonist isn't triumphing over hardship and pain once and for all, but is taking it all as it comes with grace and equanimity. Perfect Days, of course, isn't the only movie that centers around an unambitious character. It's just my favorite recent example. My Patreon film club and I recently had a discussion about the role ambition plays in movies and our favorite examples of movies that don't center around ambition or ambitious characters. It's interesting to think about how ambitious characters are often attached to traditional film story structure, and so a lot of movies that deal with unambitious characters have a non-traditional structure or operate in a specific genre like romance or horror. But of course, there are always exceptions. Our art, media, and stories can enrich our lives, inspire us, and give us a deeper understanding of the world. But I think good media literacy involves being aware of the accumulative effect of all the narratives we're consuming and the blind spots within those narratives. The simple day-to-day activities that make up anybody's life are not treated as cinematic except in rare exceptions like Perfect Days. Our social media feeds tend to be filled with people that are by definition exceptional. If we let our media define our sense of value, we can end up feeling like our day-to-day life is insignificant. But I think it's the things in our lives that usually aren't shown on the screens where we actually stand to find the most meaning. Every second counts. Next time is next time. Now is now. If you want to catch Perfect Days and you haven't yet, it's available outside the US in many countries on Mubi, my sponsor for this video. You can sign up for a 30-day extended free trial at mubi.com/ThomasFlight. What I really love about Mubi as a streaming service is its focus on curation. This isn't just a rotation of popular hits like you get on Netflix. Every film on Mubi is hand-chosen by somebody because they think it's an interesting film. They also produce and distribute really interesting work that you can't find anywhere else. One of their films coming up is My First Film by Zia Anger. This is a movie about the difficulty of filmmaking. It fictionalizes and dramatizes Zia Anger's own experience making a failed feature film, intertwining it with themes of her own life and the experience of pregnancy. This movie has one of the best depictions of ultra low budget indie filmmaking that I think I've ever seen. Ambition, of course, is a theme here because making a movie is an inherently ambitious endeavor. It's out on September 6th, so sign up for Mubi at mubi.com/ThomasFlight to check that out for free and to explore the rest of their library. Another movie that doesn't have ambition as its central drive is Richard Linklater's Boyhood, another favorite of mine, and you can watch that right now on Mubi in the US. Go check it all out, click the link on the screen or down in the description below. That's mubi.com/ThomasFlight. Thanks again to Mubi for sponsoring this video. And thanks so much to my patrons for their support. If you want to join the film club or get access to my monthly review video of everything that I watch, go to patreon.com/ThomasFlight.
Thank you, Thomas Flight. All right, what else we got in the docket? All right, let's watch this one. 3 lessons that took me years to learn as a landscape photographer. So going in, what am I focusing on when I watch this particular video? Hopefully I'll learn a lot. Hopefully it's a good video, but I'm watching this just to get more examples of how YouTubers specifically create these types of like videos, content around what they do. Specifically, this guy is talking about landscape photography, so I'm assuming it's in the same wheelhouse as me. Like, obviously, I don't do landscape, but this could be some kind of a relevant structure story-wise where I could do like 3 lessons it took me years to learn as a wildlife photographer or whatever you want to put in. So hopefully I'll take some mental notes on this structure.
Today, I wanted to talk about the importance of revisiting the places you've been and kind of the lessons and observations that I learned along the way. I'm leading a tour now to Iceland, a ring road tour, and I'm hitting a few key spots that I've hit in the past, the first time I was here. I'm really enjoying going back through some of the spots and thinking over maybe potential mistakes I've made, and also really excited about how the weather and the environment has kind of changed this time around. So the first thing that comes to mind as I kind of revisit these locations is follow the general rule that the answer is always yes. If you have that initial feeling of whether or not you should pull over, whether or not...
Oh yeah, see, I kind of explained this I did explain one of my lessons in a video already, but not in this kind of like cinematic tone. It was more just like a behind the lens capture. But one of those lessons would be for wildlife or travel, it's expect anything, enjoy everything. That is kind of the motto of the channel. That's a slogan in many ways. It's what I say all the time. It's also probably going to be the title of this upcoming travel series that I'm working on. But yeah, it's what I say to myself every time I'm out shooting, traveling, is to expect anything, enjoy everything. You can't predict what's going to happen. You can't tell a wild lion to pose for you or to stop and, you know, give you the best experience. You get what you get. You know, nature gives you only one version at a time, and you just have to accept it. So it is definitely one of those lessons. So I can definitely put this into a video in some way. Make it, I like the tone of this structure as well. It's like very soft and, you know, ambient vibes while he's giving you some life lessons. One thing that he does here that I can't do yet. So if I create something like this, I think I need to film myself giving my lessons when I'm out traveling. I think that's what he's doing, right? Yeah. Because you can see him talking
over maybe...
Clearly he's talking out in the field is what I'm trying to say, as opposed to in his studio, like where I am at right now. So getting a shot like this where he's walking around and he's recording his 3 lessons, there's something more intimate about that, more immersive and less staged, you know? So I'll keep that in mind for a future video.
We learned that lesson really big on this trip. We went to some pretty extraordinary places in the Highlands, and I think if we hadn't adopted that mentality of, hey, let's just go and push through whatever the thing was, whatever the distraction was that held us up.
Now, one thing I wish more, I don't actually wish this, but I'm saying one thing I've noticed is most photographers, videographers, whatever, when they show their photos in like a video like this, clearly they're showing their best fully edited shot. And that's obviously for obvious reasons, and that's what most people care about. One thing I'm trying to do more of, and you'll see examples of this in my recent Munich video, I like showing the before and after. I like showing people like, here's the raw, unfiltered version. Let's just focus on photography. Here's what that raw photo looked like when I was shooting. And then with the slider effect or whatever works to reveal what the final result is. Because me as a photographer, I view both parts of it as part of the like artistry. I think both require skills, someone who knows how to shoot in the moment, get the capture, but then also someone who knows how to then breathe life into whatever is within the frame, you know? So, and if you've watched my channel, if you see my streams, clearly you see how much time I spend on the editing side of things. I find just as much value and joy and whatever fulfillment from when I take a photo and then turn it into something that's my own. So yeah, I wish more photographers kind of would do that, but then again, I don't wish it. That's a weird thing to say. I just know that that's something I hope to do more of every time you watch my videos of my travels and when I start interspersing some photo moments, I'm going to try to do more of that kind of slider effect and show you guys from the beginning to the final result. Anywho.
You know, if we were tired, if it was the weather, it doesn't matter. The answer is always yes. And I feel like that really paid off in this trip. The last time I came to Iceland, I don't feel like I had that mentality. I felt like I came up with a lot of convenient excuses not to pull off on the side of the road and not to send the drone up, not to spend that additional 15 or 30 minutes at location to wait for the sun to come up, for the light to change, for the weather system to change. All of that is really, really important, just in general, but more so when you're revisiting locations and you're expecting different results. Answer is always yes.
I gotta think of other lessons that I've learned or that I would take away. Man, Iceland is such a beautiful country. I've been fortunate to go a few times in my life. Unfortunate in that I say unfortunate, I don't mean it, but it was so early, it was before I got into photography, and I do wish to go back now with my camera gear, with the knowledge that I have, and see what I can capture.
How was it, Frank? Amazing. Oh yeah, beautiful sunrise. Got a little wet on the beach. I'm wet, but I'm all right. That's right. Walked away with some great shots.
Trying to catch a bird.
flying through. See a couple swans. We hit Stocksnez at sunrise. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. The clouds hadn't rolled in yet, and there were little wisps of clouds just kind of lining certain peaks, and you had nice pastel colors over here with the sun rising. This is one of those locations where, especially if you're shooting in the sunrise, I feel like you are really just overwhelmed with the amount of locations and spots and compositions that you can shoot. And it can be very, very distracting. And you're racing against the clock. You're racing against the sun. You have about 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, as the light changes really quickly and paints the peak to kind of really hone in what you want to do. And I think the second thing that kind of comes to mind during this trip for me is just less is more. I intentionally brought just a lighter kit. I have the 55, the 90, and 25. No zooms, just primes on the Hassie, and
oh, the Hassie. That's what you call it.
I didn't even touch the drone. I brought the drone, but I didn't even send it up, and it was almost refreshing making peace with the decision that I knew I wasn't going to be sending up the drone, just because I wanted to get everything with just kind of eye level perspective with the camera, and that kind of gave me a lot of flexibility. I feel like I had more time to compose my vertical panos and just kind of scout out the composition a lot more. When you're rushing and just overwhelmed with the amount of, I just need to get everything from every angle, that's where you really lose a lot of intentionality behind your shots. If you take the approach of, I need to get as much as possible, as quickly as possible, you run the risk of just losing a lot of intentionality behind your shots. If you give yourself a little bit of time back and arrive at a location knowing that you're gonna set yourself some limitations, that's gonna give you, I feel, just a lot more breathing room to get creative, to look for that specific leading line that you were looking for, to wait for the light, to scout out the reflective part of a composition like this. It took me like 10 minutes to 15 minutes to find. I was kind of bouncing all over, and I knew it was here. It's an iconic shot. But during that time, actually, this part of the lake, it wasn't calm. There was some wind passing over it, which was giving it a lot of ripples, and so the reflection wasn't coming through, and I wouldn't have seen it had I been flying my drone and trying to get as much as possible. And if you give yourself constraints and if you give yourself creative boundaries, I think that generally leads to just more intentionality behind the process and possibly a better product at the end of it.
So my key lesson watching this so far is definitely on my future travels, I should try to do more. I did a few of these, but I should do it more of just filming myself in the environment. Ideally also not in a selfie mode, but like just lock the camera on a tripod and just like talk for a few minutes whenever I have the opportunity. I think it really adds to being a travel vlogger.
I've only been here once before, but this is one of those places where you just kind of dream of living in another life. But But as we were driving yesterday, I couldn't help but think, you know, how the locals feel about this place. The people that live here, do they feel the same kind of inspiring awe that you know, I feel? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Last night we got another blast of aurora across the, I guess, western sky. It was 2 nights in a row. We were out up a mountain road, and we're kind of staying in a cluster of Airbnbs, and no one else was out. And it kind of begs the question whether or not the locals feel as I do in a place like this after living here for a number of years. But I do think there is something to be said about it's easier to draw inspiration from locations that you're not familiar with, that you don't know. And I think that's a good challenge, you know, to keep chasing inspiration in those places that you feel are mediocre, in the places that you feel are familiar, that you feel are just normal. I live in the Midwest of the United States, and there's nothing but kind of monochromatic colors and flat plains, and there's no mountains, there's no aurora. So I think being here again makes me challenged to really stay intentional about chasing inspiration in the place that I currently live. And that can be really, really tough. That can be tough. But especially when you see something as beautiful as Dehancer yesterday. But I think it's a good challenge. And that's something that really stood out to me yesterday, was how to continue to draw inspiration from a place that you live, a place that you're familiar, that you might feel is boring.
Yo.
And I think that's a whole nother
Anik Wasim, thank you very much for the sub over on
kind
YouTube. I appreciate it.
Morning
I'm
thoughts.
almost finished with this edit here.
With
I just
coffee
want to carry over
a creamer cup.
There we go. I want to light up the eyes just a bit more so it stands out here. So I've kind of
Now,
desaturated.
if you've ever been interested in...
Yeah, so basically what I've done here is I've kind of lit up the eyes slightly more. I've desaturated the... One thing that's always tough with chimps and gorillas is because they have such a black, dark skin and coating or whatever you call it, it's really hard when it comes to lighting how to get it to look good. Oftentimes you'll get this like purple fringe carrying through, or just like it just looks weird, right? So here it was a little bit too blue, so I kind of desaturated the skin, but I didn't want to desaturate the eyes because that's the one part that I feel like should be a bit more lit and colorful. So I just carried over from my initial edits here, although I think I want to drop the shadows and highlights just a little bit, not make it too in your face. So let me just draw it back a little bit. Yeah. Because you don't want like devil eyes that are just glaring at you, right? So, but yeah, so I dropped it down. Let me end this recording now because we're good with the final results. Ooh, I think this looks really good. I'm happy with it. I think I mixed a few different presets to get to this final result. But yeah, can we look at the before and after? So here's the before, and then here's the after, right? So we've done some work. We went from this to this, and then we put it through Dehancer to get a bit different coloring effect. Cool. Hells yeah. And then I like this guy. His video is exactly, there's a lot of lessons here. I'm also thinking of doing something exactly what he's doing at the very end. So we'll make sure to subscribe, like. Nathaniel Rowland. I mentioned that I'm working right now on my next travel vlog series. And as part of that, at the end of each episode, I was thinking I might end with an actual talking head structure, just like he's got it, where we take you back out of the video, the trip in first couple episodes. I'll be basically going to Munich and then Uganda, and then I'll just talk to the camera here. just saying like, hey, stay tuned for the next one. Here's how you can support me, blah, blah, blah.
Going on your own photo.
Let me save this. Dun, dun. Okay. And perfect timing. It is now 10 p.m. So generally speaking, I'm trying to see if I can end stream around 10 to 11 p.m. depending on how productive I'm being. I've been pretty productive, and we started slightly early today. My goal is we're going to start doing streams at around 6 p.m. until 10 p.m., roughly in that time frame. So now we are at 10. Hold on, let's say hi to my cat again. So we got Nala just chilling here. Kimbap we haven't seen all day. Where the hell? We just got an empty bed here. But Nala's been kind enough to say hi and hang out with us. All right, so let's just quickly recap. What are the key photos that we've finished today? Actually, let's start from all the chimp shots that we've got. So we started with this photo. Then we had an interesting close-up version. We had some baboons. Then we had some overhead shots of the chimp and above the canopy, which turned out better than I expected. I didn't expect to be able to recover so much detail and to have a decent framing. So I was proud of that. I'm proud of the results. I'm happy with the results. Because in the moment, you have no idea. You're looking at a 4-inch screen and, you're shooting from a distance. You can't tell if the shot you're actually getting is going to be salvageable. So thankfully, they turned out pretty good. Then we have some of those cool shots when the chimp is on the boardwalk walking straight towards me. So right around here, it stopped, sat down. So we got a nice composition edit while it's just hanging out there. Then it kind of veered off. In the moment, I do remember I kept the framing to have the chimp on the left, even though the chimp is technically, it's like breaking some of the rules, right? Because you're supposed to give some look space. I forget the word for it. But the chimp is looking to the left, but he's kind of positioned on the left. So it looks like he's staring at a wall, right? We're not giving enough space for him. However, I was a bit restricted in terms of like the right framings that I had at the moment. And here I thought what was nice is if I just maintain the camera framing where off in the distance you see the boardwalk starts to curve off to the right. So there's a bit of balance and symmetry still. Symmetry is the wrong word for this, but there's a bit of a balance here because there's something interesting that stands out leaning off to the right to balance the chimp on the left. The big thing though is obviously the chimp is looking to the left. I decided that was a better framing than if I had shifted the camera towards the left and put the chimp over on the right. I wanted to maintain this kind of boardwalk structure, but I don't know, maybe it was the wrong decision. I'm happy with this photo though. And then it dipped off. This one turns out to be really nice. I quite like this one. It's probably in the top 5 of the chimp photos so far, top 3 to 5. Maybe one of these. I think I really like this kind of wide angle perspective, but obviously we get the full body as well. But here focusing on the hand in the air. And then we started editing these ones, which turned out better than expected because the shots were very blurry. It was like I was just capturing as it was walking right past me. But somehow the blurriness does add a little bit to the effect of the shot. Or that could just be me, justifying after the fact. But yeah, we've got some interesting shots as the chimp wanders right past me. And then this one is just a nice clean hero shot. Eyes were focused, and then I mixed a bunch of my presets to get this kind of soft effect. So there we go. A good day. We had a wonderful chat today as well, so I appreciate Miolte. I apologize, I don't know how to say her name, but it was great that I was able to kind of give some advice when it comes to your potential Nikon ZR purchase. I will definitely take a note of this because I work with Nikon in the region. So I always need to screenshot, actually, before I forget, let me screenshot some of your messages about from today. Because I want to also keep showing Nikon why they should keep working with me. So I basically want them to know, it's like, hey, look, I'm like an evangelist for you guys, right? People come in occasionally, and maybe I can convince them that your products are worth purchasing. So anyways, that's a little bit of what I try to do behind the scenes to build up a relationship with Nikon. So I appreciate you, Milty. I didn't pay for you to come into the chat, I swear. So I appreciate you coming in, asking some earnest questions, and hopefully I was able to give some valuable advice when it comes to the gear you need for your upcoming safaris and stuff. Hopefully you'll keep checking out some of my videos, which are pertinent to what you're about to do. But yeah, so wonderful time on the chat, and we made some progress with our photos, so I think this is a good place to end. Thank you guys. I will be back tomorrow. We're going to continue doing this, although actually, let's see, how close are we to finishing chimps? How many more chimp photos do we have to work with? We got some. Oh yeah, so we got one of these shots at least when it's lounging here. Maybe two if we do a close-up and one landscape, maybe a portrait. But it's roughly the same pose. Then we'll do one of these shots when it's lounging here, and then one of these shots when it's staring up at the camera. So we got, what, at least like 5-ish photos so far that I'll be working through on the chimp side. How much more? Jesus, I have a lot of these. Okay, then we got another one here, lounging, maybe a yawning with the teeth shot. Another lounging. This one of these hopefully will turn out really nice. We underexposed, but you get this nice, interesting framing as the chimp looks back. So this might end up becoming like a hero shot, one of the better ones. We don't have the best lighting on the face though because of that. It's whatever, it adds to it in this case. And clean. And then we got a clean one here in terms of lighting. So that might be the best one. And looking at the camera, a little bit of haze. And then, yeah, and then we get the main guide, Ranger. That's it. So we're almost done. So I think potentially tomorrow, oh, sorry, I wasn't even showing, I was on here. Potentially tomorrow, I should be finished with all of the chimps. In terms of all the chimp photos that I'm working on, I think we'll be done by tomorrow. Then we'll move on to gorilla territory and some people shots, stuff like that. So we're almost there. We're almost there. All right, cool. Anyways, thank you guys for a wonderful stream. I appreciate all of you. Thank you, those of you who had followed me across YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. It's always appreciated. And I will be back tomorrow to rinse and repeat.